I'm known for running with hair everywhere. I love being
Yes.
like just dreads
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
up and down, or because I'm usually playing wireless, so I'm running
Yeah.
around.
You're running
So
around
I
all
love
the
being on
time.
stage, but that partially is kind of like your stage persona and your alter ego in day to day life. I'm just an introvert who's quite happy on her own reading a book and not being part of the
Don't
party.
say that. You're destroying the image of rock
Sorry,
stardom.
sorry to ruin it all, but anyone who knows me knows that. But it's funny. But I think yeah, it does because I love being a bass player for that reason. I'm still up there playing great music with great musicians, but I don't have to be up the front. I can come in and out. But I also just love the role of bass. I love rhythm. I love the foundational aspect of it. I love locking in with a drummer and knowing that like we've got the backbone of this, that no matter what falls
Yeah.
apart, like
Yeah.
I love
Exactly.
that role. I'm known for running with hair everywhere. Love being
Yes.
like just dreads
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
up and down, or because I'm usually playing wireless, so I'm running
Yeah. You're
around.
running
So I
around all
love
the
being on
time.
stage, but that partially is kind of like your stage persona and your alter ego in day to day life. I'm just an introvert who's quite happy on her own reading a book and not being part of the
Don't
party.
say that. You're destroying the image of rock
Sorry,
stardom.
sorry to ruin it all, but anyone.
My guest today is a rock star, an actual rock star, Tanya O'Callaghan.
I would never have guessed. Never. I wouldn't even say wildest dreams because it wasn't a dream of mine that this is where I would have ended up. I spent 10 years working at a rescue shelter and it was apparent that I would be either like a vet and then I picked up a bass and oops.
My retirement plan was that when I retire the corporate world, I'm going to become a bass player. What you're really all about. What are you championing?
My mission since I was a little girl has always been very directly correlated to animal welfare and with that environmentalism. But what's it really going to do if I go vegan or if I go half vegan or whatever? It's huge. Why don't we just do it a different way? We don't have to fight anymore about this and that. We have now figured out how to have essentially a utopian food system for everyone.
Welcome back. My guest today is a rock star, an actual rock star, who's also a very, very, very dear friend. She played bass with rock and metal legends, including Twisted Sister, Guns N' Roses. She's the bass guitarist of Whitesnake, and she's now playing with Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden, my second favorite band of all time. Used to be my very top band of all time until I got too much into Pink Floyd, but still, I mean, second favorite band of all time. And she's touring to play the music of John Lord of Deep Purple across the world with Bruce Dickinson and a very large orchestra, an amazing, amazing bass guitarist. The way we met is, let me be very clear to start. Crying in the Rain is in my top 10 songs of all time. Crying in the Rain by Whitesnake. If you don't know Crying in the Rain, then you're either a little too young or you wasted your life listening to Madonna and modern music and what modern talking and all of that. Don't judge you for it, but you could have done better. So I was listening to Crying in the Rain, walking through my Instagram messages as always, and I found a very articulate message, actually a long message, very well thought, from someone who listened to my conversation with Stephen Bartlett and decided to text me about it. So I answered back. I actually look at the profiles of everyone who texts me so that I can establish a bit of a human connection, sort of, before I answer. And I was like, oh, that's wonderful. So you're in a tribute band to Whitesnake. And she responded and said, no, actually, I'm Whitesnake and I'm about to go on stage. And I said, you're me. Uh, in better words, but basically that's what I said. So she sends me back her photo with the badge and her bass guitar. And now I'm searching. I'm like, is this really Tanya O'Callaghan? And yes, it is. And Tanya is truly, I don't know if I can say that, but I don't know many others, is my favorite rock star in that she is not a rock star fully. So she's I don't know if she's a fake one, but she's the one that does yoga before the concert and drinks soda water instead of beer on stage. And then when it's the party time, she goes out and walks alone to discover the cities that she's in, very down to earth. And as we do here on Slow Mo, I rarely host celebrities, or no, let me put it this way. I host celebrities when they have something to say. And the first time I met Tanya O'Callaghan, she basically, I asked her, so why do you do all of this? And she said, the music is my entry, is my passport to making the world a better place. So yes, we will talk a little bit about music, but we will also talk about making the world a better place with one of my dearest friends. And yes, I bow in respect to my, like a fanboy, Tanya. Thank you so much for joining me.
What an intro.
Yes, it is from the heart,
You
isn't it?
made me remember. I remember I was going on stage in the O2 in London when I sent you that, and you were like,
Yes.
"Oh, that's nice that you're in a tribute band." I was like, "No, I'm in Leipzig, and you're welcome to come to a show."
Yes, I remember that you said that, and the thing is, I've tried. We always miss each other. We're going to miss.
Moments.
Yeah, we're, like it's not fair. Life is not fair that way. You're playing in Rio.
I'm playing in Rio like 2 days
2
after
days
you
before,
leave.
yeah, 2 days before I arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you know what?
You should just
probably-
come early.
Exactly, come early. But then my daughter's here, and I'm going to ask my daughter if I can take her with me to
Absolutely,
Rio,
you
right?
guys are totally
Because so for people who don't know John Lord was the keyboardist of Deep Purple, and if you've ever heard Burn,
yeah, exactly.
you know what kind of a musician this was. I mean,
phenomenal.
phenomenal,
Yeah.
phenomenal. I think among all rock keyboardists, probably.
And really, who also brought that to the forefront
correct.
was like rock keyboards.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal, absolute like musical genius.
Absolutely, and he was composing a lot of the music, no? I mean,
Yeah. But then what's really unique about this tour as well, and we were all wondering how it would go down, because it's literally like the first half of the show is a concerto. There's 3 movements, and it's an 82-piece symphony orchestra, and you have Iron Maiden fans in the front row, like disciplined, waiting for like, when's Bruce going to sing? And it's really fun because it brings this whole other level to, people sitting patiently, really listening to this phenomenal music, because you have to wait till the second half until it turns into a rock show.
Yeah.
So it's been really special because they wanted to put together like an all-star band and really tribute the music. And it's like nothing I've ever done before, and that's why I said yes, because it makes no sense for anybody for all the other reasons. But like, you can't not do the John Lord, concerto for group and orchestra with Bruce and all these great players. So it's been something totally different, and the response so far has been phenomenal because people are patiently waiting through a concerto and discovering that they like.
They like it,
and they're like, "This is rad."
Do you remember Apocalyptica, which where there were 4 cellos that played Metallica music and so on? I have to say, the first time I heard them, I was like, that's an interesting mix. But it also highlights to you that there are lots of melodic complexities to rock and metal that most people don't understand, right? And it really is. When people tell me there is so much, that rock or metal music is a lot of noise, I'm like, I don't think you understand. I really don't. And I honestly believe that it's the best lyrics on the planet. It's definitely the most felt, it's not about shaking your booty and, and it's really deep. I mean, Bruce Dickinson sings in The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. This is Charles Dickens, wasn't it? Or,
He does a lot of that.
Yeah, it's really quite something, and I think the idea that people would go to a concert that has that is quite interesting. But the thing is that not a lot of people know John Lord.
No, it's like the real musos do, and the real Deep Purple, like hardcore Deep Purple fans. But that's also what's so interesting, because people know the hits. They know that when you come out, everybody sort of knows like Smoke on the Water and all this, and Hush, and the keyboard guitar centric people know Burn or whatever.
Do you play Burn?
Well, when is this coming out? Because I can reveal that we were going to, but if you don't put it out, we actually just added it, because it was one of the things that I said upon initially saying yes to doing the tour. We have to do Burn. So everybody in this lineup is related to Deep Purple in 1 or 2 degrees of separation. That's what's particularly, so obviously I play with Whitesnake. David was Burn
That's
album.
true, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Bruce knew John very well, and he is actually on the recording of the concerto as well.
Mhm.
Our amazing maestro conductor Paul Mann has been with Deep Purple since he was a kid. His uncle was their one of their road crew, and he's been doing the live orchestras. But it's it's so funny to watch, because again, it's just like people are waiting for the hits, but then understanding that they also love and are getting this newfound appreciation for the concerto and the
Yeah.
musicality of it and what John Lord actually was. So it's pretty amazing.
Amazing.
And we are adamant. The thing that's hard about this tour is, unlike Apocalyptica or bringing out a string quartet or something like that, this is an 82-piece symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
Where it's like, don't cut any corners. It's a full-on orchestra. It's not a cut down, stripped back orchestra, which most rock shows would do, because it's not logistic at all to have a full
Yeah.
harmonic. But that's what makes it. The sound that comes from them is just phenomenal. And every night I was hearing different things. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't hear that before. Oh my God, I
Yeah.
never heard that oboe
Yeah.
part. Oh my God, I didn't know that the percussion section did that. So it's
So what do? Do you take the same 82 people with you everywhere?
no, you can't. That's the only one of the logistic problems with this. I mean, you can if the budgets are through the roof, but that's a lot of people, and you're working with orchestra unions, which is really unusual. So they have to work certain hours. Rock musicians are just used to like, right, let's go, and
Yeah.
you go run for as long as you want, rehearse for as long as you want, whatever. So we had, for the European tour, we had like the Zagreb Philharmonic for 3 or 4 shows, and then we switched. We had a different orchestra in Romania, and we had a different orchestra in Czech Republic, and so you usually can only use them for a certain territory, because it's just too hard to travel with that many.
And then do you have to rehearse with every one of
Yeah,
them?
yeah, you do, because
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah, you do, which is really interesting for us, because it's not normal. Like we do full on, like we've been doing, from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. because you're doing broken times because again of unions. So it's really interesting, because you're back in your first band. You're like, I gotta play all day. I'm used to showing up to the venue for, my tech has everything done,
Yeah.
and I walk on stage. But it's lovely because it's the music takes a lot of focus and concentration, the concerto part.
I know.
So it's not like just learning normal songs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of focus involved, because these pieces are up to like 18, 19-minute long, and the band is
Oh.
coming in and out on sections. So you
Yeah.
really have to know where you are.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey, a musical journey.
Wow.
And I think you should come to Rio early, because
I'm now like telling myself, what else is more important? Like what else is
yeah,
my
I
life?
already gave you a backstage pass.
I know I have a signed backstage pass, by the way. So that's that's the perk of knowing the bassist. But yes. So Tanya, how does one become a rock? I mean, I played guitar when I was young to impress the girls. Every geek does that. You know that, right? It's quite interesting, because my life actually took a full circle, and which is really really eye-opening, because when I was younger, as a geek and a good boy, I was always a good boy, very respectful. I opened the door to my girl and whatever. And of course, girls in teen and 20s didn't like good boys. They wanted the bad boy. And so I tried harder. Like every time I was rejected, I would try harder. So I played the guitar, I composed music, and I did really well. uh, and I really, really got the entire crowd of girls around me whenever we were going on a trip anywhere, leaning on their bad boys. So, it's like, what the F, really?
A global phenomenon.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm playing here. Why is everyone with their bad boys? Anyway, but I never made it to rock stardom. You can obviously understand maybe that I wasn't supposed to. I think you were not expecting that either.
I would never have guessed. Never. I wouldn't even say wildest dreams, because it wasn't a dream of mine. I would never have guessed that this is where I would have ended up. Because I only picked up a bass when I was 17 or 18.
Is that true?
Very late. Yeah. I was always interested in music. So I was always listening to music. My dad's big into music, so we had a great vinyl collection. So I think when I was a kid, subconsciously I was hearing all the good stuff. But there's I have 2 cousins one on either side that play music, but there's no musicians in the family. There was no signs at all, because I was just an animal fanatic since my first memories. And I spent 10 years working at a rescue shelter, and it was pretty apparent that I would be either like a vet or run this shelter, or I took an interest in like marine biology at one stage. But it was like she's.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Kaylee. I just want to explain. I actually only just found this interview this morning. I just stumbled across it on a short on a channel, the plant-based bassist, which I didn't realise she had that channel. I just saw her Instagram channel before, the plant-based bassist, and I watched an interview with her last night, and then she goes back to her house with this. I'll just play a quick clip of this one just to give you the idea of what she does. So she's got this kind of channel project thing, which she goes on road with this Derek fella you'll see in a second. She's with Moby here, Highway to Health. So it's interesting how she, when it's to the whole thing with the rock thing, the whole going against Christianity and stuff in a sort of, but like not in a nasty way, but still, it's mentioned when she gigs at venue, in Ireland, where they'd have like a cross behind the. An upside down cross behind the drummer and stuff like that, and it was like it's rock and roll, but also it does these things, can breed a lot of ignorance, but it is a balance to find that kind of it's an interesting, because obviously it's going against the status quo or the system and the abusive oppression and all that and all the stuff that happened in the Catholic Church. So you can understand why people do this, and she can understand that. The reason why she actually went, it's the whole story of her going stopping eating meat. So there was cow fields around when she was 4 years old. She named this cow Daisy, a classic. She said they're probably all called Daisy to some extent, but she's 4, and then her brother said that's Daisy on the plate to her when she was eating some meat, and so she never ate meat from that moment. But then her mum and dad were getting worried. The doctor was telling them that she might get rickets if she didn't eat meat and stuff like this. So mum ended up blending meat blending it into a liquid or something, and mixing it with other food or a soup or something. But then she could taste it, so she wouldn't eat it, and then eventually that they realised that a few years on, oh no, she's 6, she's 7, she seems fine, she's not she seems healthy, well enough and everything else. So they said that she wouldn't grow and she wouldn't do this and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's crazy sad, but let's just see, is Clyde. No, we're not going to do that, are we, Clyde? Because it's not her recipe. It was just a human thing, wasn't it, Clyde? You're stuck on that one. You really think you're going to destroy us with that one, don't you? Oh, she really just put it on screen just to show you how much of a weak paedophile you are. Yeah. Absolutely, darling. Okay, Clyde. You're literally going to go down in history as like how you're just like the poster children for the dying out of pathetic, abusive men. And it does not matter at this stage what you have been through as children. It will be taken into consideration in your stories, of course. It will be explained as to what created such nasty, horrible people. but it does not excuse it. You have the opportunity now. We are talking to you with often very, very much kindness and grace and understanding. Very much. You've been given so many opportunities. There's all the organisations, there's everywhere to outreach. I've told you about the Lucy Faithful Foundation. There is police stations now where you can find the police station where you just have to be brave enough and trust that it's not going to be corrupt and take the risk. If they're going to fuck you over and go, you are not grassing up the fucking gang, you come and you think you can get out of this, no fucking chance, do you? Push round the head, and fucking go and silence you, go and, you know, it's what you're causing for the children. You should take that risk, like, of your own. It's just pure selfish self-preservation, and Michaela is the most blatant version of it. Luke is a questionable one still, because is he a good actor? Has he been compromised with something? Has he been playing us all along like he really does know that the Hampstead children did this and that, and he's been told cover it up at all costs? Has he been told you have to talk for Israel, and regardless of how many prisoners they rape, regardless of how many children they kidnap, regardless of how many hospitals they, you know, lie about, or whether there is Hamas people there, the whole thing about, you know, they're not telling us how much input they had with Hamas, and go blowing up hospitals anyway. You shouldn't really go blowing up hospitals anyway, regardless of who's there. And then this shit with Iran, the children now, what is it now? I think it says 160 people now. Even if it's one person got killed at a school, they should be fucking bowing on the floor, repenting for their mistake. I still haven't found that speech by Trump yet. Yeah, Kaylee, I stopped looking actually. I found a load by him, but nothing of significance. Yeah, it's just I can't. But their comments are just too much. I'm going to go down history as a really good person. People love me. Yeah, just carrying on, aren't you? Just carrying on. Clyde, you guys don't get what you see as my weakness are my strengths and my segues to relate to anyone else. Anyone else. How can I judge people? And approachable. That's approachable, sorry. That's approachable. Yeah. I love that. You stalkers try so hard to smear me. Fail. It's so it's just the psychology. I mean, this is so this is just such a epic talking point in itself. Clyde, you are going to be the conversation starter. You tried to destroy our self-esteem and that, but actually you're giving us all the confidence to be ourselves. What the fuck? You're just totally lost it, haven't you, Lyndon? Oh my god, what a freak. What a freak. This is the mentality, Kaylee. This is what we're dealing with. The product that Lyndon's excuse is going to be, I didn't realise. I thought processed food was good for us. I didn't realise. It made me I couldn't think properly. That is why Adam is such a fail. Flailing like a frailing. You talk about frail. Who's the one with the walking stick, bro? Fuck's sake, what are we dealing with, Kaylee? Oh, fuck's sake. This is ridiculous. A 3-pronged walking stick. Arrgh! Let's see. It's what is it? So, as much as I will mock your behaviour, I will also, and remember it's Saturn Day, the miss. So I'm just moving about a moment. The misrepresented Satan, or Satan in its Saturn in its most selfish and detached and confused and hurting state, and then this is our one of our one on the list. But this is a visualization for any of you and all of you. So represented by Adam Lashbrook, AJ Lashbrook, AJ Tyler, unlisted, Lucifer, aka wannabe Lucifer, weird sort of thing. And this is him in the middle of the heart, as you'll see. And then we're praying for him because he's so damaged and lost and hurting, and does not know what he does. He's just acting out of possessed fear and desperation. And obviously, like, you know, drugs and escapism and addiction and all of that. If I missed any of Kaylee's important comments, let's have a look. Yeah. Absolutely, darling. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is what we're dealing with again. Yeah, like apples, yeah, Adam. Fuck's sake. Apples get washed and sterilized and packaged. You dumb fucks. Crack on playing pedantic semantics in my fiance's chat. Your reports will be available upon request, Clyde. You're free to see what I submit, as is anyone else. Wonderful. Super, super, super. Okay. So, yeah, Kaylee, so the point I was going to initially show was the live that Easy did last night. It was so funny. So I managed to download 87 megabit, but it had no audio because he ended the stream. I didn't see it till like the last 5 minutes. It was only like 50 minutes long. I didn't see it until will it load? Yeah, I'll. So I got like 39 minutes of it on my downloader, but it didn't add the audio. Unless anybody can lip read a moving avatar. But because he's not paying for StreamYard anymore, he's got the logo up here and he hasn't got the chat come up on the side. So I did screen record some of the chat as well. Screen recorded all of the chat that I could see, which was nothing of relevance, but it's just for the record. 1:30 in the morning, obviously. I don't know if Banana Man is Darren or not.
Yeah. Do you know what? You see the difference at Crystal Palace?
Oh, I did get a bit of the audio. It's just about football, though.
Keith Andrews is just started.
But he so yeah, Baz, yeah, Banana Man, sorry, not Banana Cam, yeah, I don't know if Banana Man is Darren. think it probably is, but because he was in Taffs and. But also, so Taffy went live. Leighton Jones went live just after this, just doing a quiz. It was the most tedious thing. None of the ones that I'd even really recognise were in, or bother sort of looking at were in the chat. Some of them could be really, you know, vital pieces to the puzzle, and you've probably got them on your list. But Taffy's chat would be a good one to get next, I suppose, because there is the names in there do seem a bit randomer sometimes that are not the usual. The usual main ones like in other places, or I don't know, they just seem a bit obscure to me, like I don't recognize them as blatantly as the other ones. And it was just not no one I particularly would pay attention to was in there last night. Like Becca didn't go over, Baz I don't think went over, Rick Den didn't go over, I think. But he had Leighton was asking to go on Rick's show, Easy's, and Easy said, "No, I'm just getting some stuff off my chest today." The actual panel was called No Panel. It's just it goes a late night stream, No Panel or something. It was called. Started about 12:30, ended about 1:30, and it was just so funny, like how ridiculous it was. So basically, he's saying. It's so weird. No, these. I'm got to deal with. You know, he said basically I'm dealing with. I don't what do they call them? The antagonizers or something. He said he doesn't. He's managed to fight them off. I don't know if he's referring to muckers or. Because obviously he keeps diverting, you know, not diverting. These lot that initially destroyed his whole persona, like Lyndon, Eric, Brian Hansford, AJ. They did their job on him. You know, they basically succeeded with him to a large extent. You know, he's going to be used as a tool along the way by the universe and the great consciousness to get across what we need to. What's this about cherubs? Did I miss a? Oh wow, sorry, baby. Yeah, sick man. Yeah, Clyde, you're so desperate, mate. It's just really, really tragic. But it's, you know, you're just so ingrained into these roles. It's, you know, you really just, I don't know what's going to help you now. You just need to get the law involved, get the law upheld, and everything else, and we're getting there. So Easy was basically saying. Oh, where's the panel? Everyone's too scared to do a panel show anymore. This whole community, like, he was just being he was acting so naive to what's going on. Like, it's just unexplainable. It's you know, we're speechless for how ridiculous these people are being. But anyways, that was basically it. Did I put? Oh, fucking hell! I didn't share the screen, did I? Sorry, this over it. So yeah, so basically it was just this chat. Which it just had nothing in it. Just Becca. There's nothing relevant. They were just shut. They were just right near the end. Taffy asked to go on the stream. Easy said no. Yeah, it's just about football at the end, and then they went. And then yeah, I got 40 minutes of the stream, but I've just put a note in my pad of timestamps and notes just to get the stream off of YouTube when we get the chance. But yeah, I got the stream, but just with no audio. But you can see he's got no StreamYard. He's not paying for it anymore. his plans of having 3 channels. Is he still got these plans of having 3 channels running 24 hours a day and members only for this and that one to stop? But he reckons he's fought all the trolls off now. Like he's not getting hassled. But no one else. He goes, no one else is going live. No one. Why is everyone else too scared? No one's going live nowadays. Where's all the panels? Blah 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 blah. It was so ridiculous. So yeah, get with the program, Ricky. Is it? Why don't I mean? It's just it must just be so like because the shame that he didn't deal with it. You know, that he's got all this shame for nearly a decade. Well, for a decade of ignoring the children. And it's a horrific thing that I have to, we all have to compartmentalize and create these divided sort of conscious states, where we can kind of laugh and get on with the day, knowing what other horrific stuff's going on, and then forgiving ourselves for our weaknesses and lack of intelligence in regards to how we approach certain things and got confused and scared and different emotions at different times regarding this whole situation. And I do kind of presume that I go with the assumption that all of these people have grown up in the most horrific abuse situations as to why they've been told that they've been brainwashed, trauma-based, mind controlled into telling them, like Lisa and Gabriel, you're going to go to prison if anyone finds out. This is our special culture. This is how we do it. They won't understand. The normal public won't understand. They think we're this and that, blah 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 blah. But honestly, there is places you can speak out. There will be understanding police. There is understanding organisations like the Lucy Faithfull Foundation and the public on large. The public are very, very understanding and will be the loud ones, the loud, aggressive, the Jupiters. Oh, well, they killed them all. The racists and the ones who will just generalize and outsource pedophiles as like the baddies that are just wrong, and like Keir Starmer's this and that, and the care, some sort of care system or boarding schools. Yeah, it'd be real. I'm so fascinated to find out. This is what just my care in humanity and everything else keeps me going with such passion and compassion as well. And yeah, so I do have understanding. I do have like compassion for all these people but the abuse that you continue to. There's nothing else would explain why you are just so obscene and so so desensitized to your own language and your own behavior and your own perception of people's perception of what you behave like, and entitled the way that you. And it's obviously very, very organized, and there was a brief period of time where you did have things so wrapped up in regards to the levels of corruption and things like the internet. It hadn't caught up with the systems that to have the Society for Liberties, whatever it was called, something liberties, funding, what's the word, lobbying for the paedophile information exchange. That was up until 1984, wasn't it? Disbanded in 1984, I think, and then. Yeah, exactly, Katie. Yeah, and that's it, because like people like my parents, they knew about to some extent, people knew about the boarding schools and the what the upper classes were going through. You know, there was people that spoke out. There was, you know, and then the children that this story's got huge publicity. You know, the Kincora, the boy, the island boys' home lad who managed to escape or basically got to England somehow, but then became a, you know, the horrible term rent boy on the I think it's Piccadilly Circus. And just how renowned these areas were. I mean, Michaela's even said it, that she knew that area, and that these Londoners didn't put a stop. Like, if I was in London, I'd love to think that I would go and, you know, rescue these boys from being, you know, selling themselves at fucking, like, in their teens, whatever old, whether it's 10, whether it's 20, you know, or 19, or however old, like, these boys are, and it's just the most horrific thing to imagine that they're being. And I can only imagine that Clyde, AJ, Pip have all been anally assaulted. You know, what's the word? Being a bit more delicate, violated. You know, abused, but now they've almost certainly done it to others. You know, and now it's something you're going to have to forgive yourselves for, and just please, you know, it's going to come. It's going to come. We're going to get this sorted. We need to get you to a place of safety for everybody involved. So yeah, let's carry on with this interview with Mo Gaudout. Oh, should we play the Viva one first? We have a break because they're just talking about rock music still. They will talk about the activism, but let's watch the Viva one first.
Welcome to the Viva Vegan podcast. Tanya O'Callaghan is an accomplished bassist from Ireland who has toured and recorded with major artists, including Whitesnake, Dee Snider, Steven Adler, and one of my favourites, Maynard James Keenan. Beyond music, she's a passionate vegan and environmental advocate, and co-creator of the travel and food series Highway to Health, which explores plant-based.
There's a really interesting thing about this Maynard James Keenan. If you know of... Oh, I haven't got the screen up again. Let's play that again, intro again.
Welcome to the Viva Vegan podcast. Tanya O'Callaghan is an accomplished bassist from Ireland who has toured and recorded with major artists, including Whitesnake, Dee Snider, Steven Adler, and one of my favourites, Maynard James Keenan. Beyond music, she's a passionate vegan and environmental advocate, and co-creator of the travel and food series Highway to Health, which
Oh yeah, thank you, Kaylee. So where's the picture? So Maynard James Keenan, he was. Let's just get the picture up a second. He, as the lead singer of Tool, and he made vegan wine. He made wine. It was vegan, and he's basically, so this picture is so interesting. I want to find out whether he's so he did a naughty thing, and he's been addressed about it loads. But where the wine's made, and then he wrote, someone asked if our wines are vegan. To my horror, I realised that in fact they were in fact vegan, so I fixed them. And he's got this name Pucifer, like Pussy and Lucifer, which I guess the band's named on. She plays in that band. She did an album with them. And he wrote "Bacon Is Life" somewhere, but then he basically, this picture is removed. I went out of like 5 of the websites that I found, 5 of the links. This picture, I only found one. They've all been removed. So I think he's felt bad about it, and I want to find out. I want to get confirmation about this. But basically, this only because this was like a screenshot within another picture, so I managed to extract this one. But he had all the other ones. The whole page was down on one of them. There was and the picture was literally removed. It's not even on Reddit where the picture would be. It said this picture is no longer available, and it had like IMBUR. I think it's like the picture. It's like a picture organization, isn't it? Online picture thing. So I think that he realized how much of a dickhead he was, because he is actually like quite a spokesperson for humanitarian stuff and animals to some extent, I believe. Like, especially if he's been in the band with her. So it was just very interesting. I managed to get this for the record. But yeah, he obviously, people make mistakes, and he's just trying to be rock and roll, and he thought it was funny. But it's very sad and tragic, but it's a level of trolling that you get here. 844 comments. So yeah, and that was on his main Tool the Band channel, and it was just at Pussifer. He's just trying to be funny. Like, it's really sad. But yeah, so he's got to live with this. But I think he went for a real effort to get it off the internet, like the actual picture, and he managed to get 4 out of 5 of the uploads off the internet, which is amazing. But here we are.
Explores plant-based living around the world. Tanya brings a unique blend of musicianship and activism to everything she does. So Tanya, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Faye.
No, anytime. So we're going to talk a little bit about your kind of vegan journey, a bit about Highway to Health, and also your kind of musical career as well. There's quite a lot to pack in.
It's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, I bet it has. So let's go back to the sort of the beginning, because you were born in like a small town in Ireland, and what was it like for you kind of growing up? Veganism and vegetarian, I'm guessing at that kind of time wasn't really a thing.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I'm from a little town called Mullingar, and I had a very kind of quintessential, simple Irish small town childhood. The pre-phones and social media, which I'm so grateful for. We didn't really even have TV channels, and I love that. That's my foundation. So with that, I also I lived where we grew up. Behind the house was a field full of cows, because there's a lot of farms in Ireland, as people know. So, but I thought as a little girl, I loved animals since I can remember. It's my first memories. But I thought that the cows were my pets. So I named everything, every animal, every stray came home with me, all of that. And so that was like the spark when I was super young. And I realized that, there was this like innate draw to animals that I always just had. And then, veganism, there was no word. I didn't hear the word vegan until I think I was about 16 or 17. There was vegetarian for sure. But my brother told me when I was like 4 or 5 that what was on the table was Daisy, which was one of the cows. It wasn't actually Daisy, but he was just, being an older brother and taunting me. But that's my first extremely vivid memory. And I remember how it felt. And then it was like, hold on a minute. If that takes killing an animal to be on the table, then I don't want anything got to do with that, because I love animals. And I just remember that like synopsis in my little brain. Like it's like, this doesn't equate for me. So that just like really was a profound moment for me. So I refused to eat meat from that point on. And I have no recollection of meat before that, because I was so young. So essentially I've, been veggie vegan my whole life. And by default, I don't like dairy. My mum has the same thing. So I have like, we taste dairy as kind of sour. So there wasn't a lot of dairy in my diet, other than, we don't have the problem in Ireland where like milk powder is everywhere. Like in the US, it's shoved into everything. That wasn't a thing. So aside from probably like cheese on the odd thing or that, I was essentially a by accident vegan. But yeah, and then when I was a teenager, I met a vegan in Dublin, and it
A
was
real
like,
life one.
a real life vegan. But I also started working in a rescue shelter when I was 8, and I did 10 years there, and I was kind of training to be like a vet's assistant before I picked up a bass guitar.
Yeah, because you wanted to be a vet or a marine biologist, is that right, when you were little and
Yeah, it's
younger?
a little different than what turned out. So
Yeah.
I spent all my time at the rescue shelter. It was, just outside my hometown, and I volunteered there when I was 8 with a school class, and I just loved it so much that like that's where I spent all my time. I went there after school. I got dropped there every weekend by my parents, and it became my life very much. And through that, I was learning a lot of animal care. So it was more that it was looking like a natural progression that I would do veterinary work or take over a shelter or do something like that, because it's all I did. And I did a lot of protests. I was heavily involved in the animal rights movement young in Ireland. I got all that out of my system young. Like,
It's probably the
the
best
throwing
time.
the throwing the fake blood on the fur, going
Wow.
to hare coursing, fox hunting protests, like you name it. I was writing letters like a lunatic as a young girl. But so that's my foundation in animal rights, and it's pretty like the punk version of it, which I'm kind of glad that I got that out of my system young, and then started to like approach veganism and the plant-based like from a more educational standpoint later on.
That's amazing because I mean, when you were younger as well, it sounds like your parents were very supportive. I was watching an episode of The Highway to Health, and I think you were mentioning that your mum was given like happy for you to do it, but was given a lot of like misinformation from the doctors and things like that.
Huge. Yeah, huge. It's weird when you think back. I mean, I think they were afraid because there was no nutritional. There was, now we can go online and find anything. Obviously, we didn't have a computer or anything like that, but people had no real solid nutritional advice around like growing children and protein and what protein even is. And my mum got told by a doctor, which I just think is so hilarious, that I might get rickets, which has nothing got to do with like, so weird. But I think that was just, lack of information around at the time. So my mum would try to liquidize meat into my potatoes, which was, God bless her. She didn't know. And then at a certain point, a little while into it, they're just looking at me going, she's not going to eat it. So like, let's stop trying to force her. And then, that's when they started, because in Ireland, it's a very plain cuisine. Let's just say growing up, it's, meat and 2 veg, and spuds, of course, like everything has potatoes. So I just, instead of having the meat, they would just put like a veggie burger or something, because we still had that psychology of like, you have to replace the meat, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a journey for them too, because I wouldn't say that it was initially something they supported, but they had a very stubborn child. So they saw after a while that, when you have that moment, or when I had it anyway, and as a child, I can't look at meat the same way. So I'm always going to see a dead animal.
Yeah.
So it's never going to change, no matter how you like coat it or put it in something or hide it. It's just like my brain is going, that's Daisy, that's my friend.
It's true. I think, when you look at slabs of meat, for me, it's the worst. Somehow it's even worse than like fish, but when you see a slab of meat, it's like flesh. It's veins.
Quite bonkers.
It's
quite bonkers.
Yeah, there's no going back. And I mean, obviously, when you sort of mentioned as well that you kind of you were really into the advocacy and an activist part of this, did you think that would be your life, that you'd be doing that when you got older as well? And how did you end up moving into music? What was the kind of connection there?
Yeah, I definitely, like, if you had asked me up until 15, 16, 17, I probably would have guessed. I was starting to think of other ways that I could be involved with like animals and nature. So that's why like marine biology was on my radar for a while. But as soon as I learned you had to dissect animals, I was like, maybe not the science part so much. I love science, and then it kind of looked at one point that I would just, transition from like veterinary care assistant to do, go and train in the vets in my hometown. But I decided when I was 17 to drop out of school as another act of rebellion. Essentially, in hindsight, because I was bored. I love learning and I love education, but I didn't really fit in the neurotypical box, let's just say, of like how, especially then, things have changed. The education system has shifted a little bit for different types of learners, but I was having a really hard time in the format. I was a great student. I was a straight A student, but I was never allowed to ask questions. I went to like an all girls, very strict Catholic school.
Oh,
So when
wow.
you are going in any way against the grain, that just like causes a lot of tension. Because I wouldn't eat meat, my home economics class, my teacher threw me out of class. Like all these really weird things in hindsight, the adults should have like seen something different. But so when I dropped out, and that was a real shakeup for my family, because it's like you're almost finished, but I was like, fuck the system, the
Yeah.
time. But I had to do a course. I had to do something, because the one thing I promised my parents is I'll do something. I'll find something to do. Like I'm a highly engaged person. It's not that I wanted to drop out and do nothing. And then like joined it. There was a course in my hometown that was essentially for like high school dropouts, but you could do culinary cooking, you could do computers, and there was a music course. And I always loved music. Like I was always around it. We have a very musical town, but I hadn't played music yet. I had just recently taken an interest in playing drums first, actually. So I signed up for the course as a drummer, and then I went in and they didn't have a drum kit. They just had like an electronic thing. And long story short, I seen a local bass player playing, and I was just mesmerized by bass. So I was like, I'm gonna do that. And the rest is history, I guess.
It's really interesting. I find it seems like, your life now obviously is built around music and also veganism and, the compassion for the animals. And there's certain people you meet, and it's very much like there's almost, I mean, obviously, I'm like you. I went to a Catholic school, and fuck me, that was not for me either. I
Yeah.
did the dropout college and got like 7 A levels, and they were like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, because there's no rules, and I can do what I want,
Right.
and I'll learn
Yes,
this
free
way."
learning.
Yeah, but it's funny because with it's like a vocational. There's a calling almost. I mean, are you somebody who's always kind of listened to their gut when you have that, and you're like,
Massive.
this feels like truth for me,
Yes.
and yeah.
Massively. Like I cannot even stress that enough. So like the most pivotal moments in my younger life that I remember, like in my core, are when I was 4, when I was told what meat was. And I just know intuitively, if in order for me to be in congruency with my own morals, I cannot say I love animals and eat them. Decided. And then, I was trying to stay in school for other people, and having the push and pull of society presuming you were going to drop out because you were just too lazy to finish, or you whatever, but not understanding at the time that actually I really love learning and I want to learn more and I want to ask all the questions. But this type of school is like, here are the boxes and this is all you're allowed to ask about. So that's really frustrating. So I remember really, really clearly deciding, and the day that I walked out, and even though it was very scary and, everyone's like, what are you doing? You're almost finished. I was like, no, I know. I know that I can't waste any more time over here. I need to go over here and I'm going to figure it out, because my internal compass of navigation is saying this.
No, that's
Slight
amazing.
left turn,
Yeah, but it's funny because when you try to do things that aren't right for you, even if you succeed, for a little bit,
Yeah.
it's detrimental long term. And
I
you
think
just
it's
think,
a
yeah.
massive problem in the world in general. And I think that it's not that it's anybody's fault, but like we're in societies that sort of, you're supposed to do this, this, and this, and you think that you're doing everything right. And then you get to a certain point in your life, in your adulthood, that there's this push and pull. Like maybe you're not actually living. I think there's a lot of buzzwords these days. It's overused, like your purpose or you're this or you're that, but you've gone so far into it that you're out of alignment with yourself, essentially. So the one thing that, even though it's been an incredibly roller coaster type journey, what I chose, it's always been me actually following the path that I think that I'm here for.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Like, let's go into sort of the base side of things then. So you kind of gone to the college, and you were mesmerized. How did that then translate to you being in America and being, playing with like as a touring bassist with, big bands like Whitesnake and Lucifer and, meeting Maynard, James Keenan, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically, like, I really latched on to bass. I loved it. There was no bass teacher though, so there was only a guitar teacher, and he was very supportive, and he tried to like guide me of how, like, giving me a couple of books and giving me a bass to practice on. So because I didn't actually have a teacher, and I was going to be totally self-taught, so I have no foundational like training in music. My way of learning was, let me join bands. So I joined my cousin's band a few weeks after I picked up a bass. And I was gigging within like the first few months. Absolutely terrible. Totally shy. But when you force yourself into the situation of having to like learn all these songs and then play them the correct way live with the band working as a unit, when I look back, that was my greatest teacher. So I became really obsessed with joining bands. Like early on, I was always in multiple bands. And then at, a year or so in, I was joining corporate bands, which was, like wedding bands, bands that play all these like corporate, having to learn like all these songs.
I bet you
was-
see some
you know-
sights as well as a wedding band performer, don't you?
Oh my God, I've seen so many bridezillas in my
Yeah.
early career. It's hilarious. But that really was an amazing teacher for me because I was always the least experienced in the band. Like I was joining bands of guys that had been playing since they were kids, that had classical or jazz training. And I was really in the deep end, but I think that was good for me musically early on. So essentially over the first few years, I was just in a fuckload of bands. Like I was in, the local cover band. I had my original band. I would do like acoustic sets with singers. I would do whatever it was, open mic nights, jam nights. I had all this stuff going on. And then I decided to, start to I had heard the term session musician per se. And I started to try to pivot into that world. And I was getting like TV house band gigs. So you're in the background for like a Saturday night show, and off the back of that, you would get asked to do, that artist is going to go out and do a tour. So that started to happen, the first few years of my career. And I was like, oh, I kind of really like this thing of, I always had an original band and I always loved that creative center. But it's also like, well, if I want to make this my career and my income and living, I need to figure out how to make it my income, which would be like being a hired gun, which they call it in the US. So that was basically like a lot of the early years. And I was in so many bands. At one stage, I was in like 7 or 8 bands at the same time. And I was just gigging all the time. It was insane. And then I was gigging in, so the first like American break per se was I was gigging in Glasgow actually. And the same few days, Tool were playing. I was a big Tool fan, but I've never been like a fan in the sense that like it's a fandom thing. I want to go see the production and it's kind of a different creative aspect because I actually hate being in the crowd.
Yeah.
I'd be very introverted. People find it like funny when I say I'm introverted, but actually I'm extremely introverted when I'm not like on tour. But I like being on the stage because there's a barrier between, and you can you have this like protective space. So I don't go to a lot of gigs because I actually don't enjoy the experience of being like in the crowd. But my crew, so some of the techs and the sound engineers and that were working that show. So we'd like mutual people. So I ended up going and I met Maynard and Danny and a few of the cats after, and we just started talking about music. And it was just one of these totally natural, at the time I was obsessed with like Indian conical rhythms, which is like, how to play odd times with this really cool syllabus thing. And I was talking to Danny about that.
I was
And then we
going to say,
started
Danny
talking to
Carey's
Maynard.
going to love that, isn't he?
Yeah, we were just having a musician's chat basically. And then Maynard was telling me about Pulsifer. Funny enough, they're playing here tomorrow night and I'm going to meet them tomorrow. I haven't seen them in a while. So it's like, oh, perfect timing for Pulsifer. But he told me he has this other project. And I'm thinking, well, he has Tool and Perfect Circle. I didn't know about Pulsifer at the time. And essentially, Pulsifer, as you know, is like a rotating door of guest musicians. And he asked me, would I be interested in playing on something? And you're like, oh, sure, let me check my diary. Okay, Maynard. Yeah, I absolutely respect him as a musician. Obviously, love all the bands and all the music he's done. So I went home to Ireland. I think it was the next day. I'm like, okay, I see what's happening here. I need to go to America. Right. So I need to go to America. And, there's a few emails back and forth and we organized that. And I end up going out to Arizona. And this was a real deep end moment because I wonder how they work. Like, what's going to happen? I'm used to pre-learning sets of songs. Like, I'm told we're doing this set list, learn all these songs, come and play them. But I was like, no, we're just going to write an album. It's like, oh, what'll I bring?
Yeah. Oh,
So, yeah. Yeah, so off I went. My parents were like, oh, Jesus, what is she doing? Off I went to America, hang out with a bunch of rock stars and write music. But it was wonderful because, in hindsight, and I said this to Maynard years later, that like the fact that he took a risk on me as a young player was really cool because he could have just been like, oh, it's just a, player. Because I wasn't asking him, obviously, like it wasn't like, oh, hey, I really want to. It just happened completely naturally. And then he invited me out and I ended up with him and Josh and a few of the guys we just wrote a bunch of songs. A couple of them made the records. Toma and Polar Bear are co-writes that I was on.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, they're so fun, and it was just a really wonderful experience again for me to be in this like super pure situation and watch the creative act unfold, and that was great. And so then I went back to Ireland with my tail between my legs. It's like, oh, I want to do that,
Yes.
but I live in Ireland, and I'm still basically a kid.
Yeah. How old are you at this point?
Um,
Were you like really young or?
I was in my very early 20s. I think I
Wow.
was like 21, if even 2021. So that was my first big kind of super professional outside of studios and stuff in Ireland. And then, yeah, I came home and I had to figure out, what I was going to do next. So there was a lot of gigging, saving, because you can't just come to the US. You can come for 90 days. I was like, oh no, I need a fucking visa now on top of all this. So a few years passed of just doing like the whole hustle of saving and trying to figure out visas, and I don't know anyone here, and it's like, what am I going to do? Will I go to New York? And I decided to go to London for a while, thinking like let me try just across the pond, and the weather was too close to Ireland. I couldn't do it. I was
No.
like, no,
No.
rainy, grey. So my stint in London was short, but I did some fun gigging there, and then I kind of decided, because it's just, I like to put a lot of like positive pressure, I guess, on myself. So if I go really far away on my own, I don't know anyone, I'm going to have to figure it out. So I came to the US on a visitor visa first, and I started going to, NAM and all the music expos, because I literally did not know one person. Maynard had moved back to Arizona at this stage, so he wasn't even here at all. So anyway, I just basically went to a bunch of music conventions. You talk to everyone, you're walking around your base on your back, like, I need a gig, like, where do I go? And it's a very slow process, but I would go back and forth. So I would go for a month, run out of money because it's so expensive, go home to Ireland, gig like a lunatic, go back for a month. And I did this for like 3 years, back and
Wow.
forth. And in the, the whole time I was trying to build up a situation where I could get hired so I could apply for a visa. So that would eventually happen. I got a gig, and then you can, apply for an actual artist visa. So I did that. So I got my first visa on like the 4th or 5th trip. And that had me here for like a year. And then, it was this crazy process of
Build.
like back and forth. But each visit to the US, I would make more connections, and I would, get invited. And eventually I was invited to play open jam nights. And that's where you, get to kind of cut your teeth. You meet the real gigging people. And I would meet guys that play in all the big bands and be like, where do I go? Like, what do I do? So, it's one of those things, like, no matter what you're trying to achieve in life, you should go find the people that are already doing it and ask them all the questions.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a process of that. And then people see you play. And then once, it took years, but once that started to snowball, it really started. And then I was like in all of the 80s bands all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah, which is an interesting trajectory. I mean, yeah, like Dee Snider and Whitesnake and all these bands. It's just like, oh, okay, I guess this is what you're doing now, right? And then,
Now I do the 80s.
yeah, now maybe I'll do the 90s. And, I guess you just have to
Who
go
knows?
with,
Yeah.
with what's available, right, at the time as well. And
Yeah, I did a lot of pop gigs first. So my first like gigs here, where I did a lot with like the Disney label artists, and that was fun, but it's a very different thing because you're kind of hired as what we call like wallpaper. So the band is hired to just be, it's very staged, and then the pop artist is doing their thing, and it's fun, and you meet great players and all that. But it wasn't until like Dee Snider asked me to do like a one-off show. It's the famous story with us. We're just doing a one-off show, and then it turned into like 2 years of working together, and it was amazing. But Dee and being in a band like that was the first, like, you're free to be yourself on stage, which was super fun. So you're like quite literally rocking out with these like rock legends. And then, yeah, after Dee, and I did a bunch with Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses, did his stuff. And then after that, David Coverdale had seen me play it, because you're touring the same circuit. So you're often on like the bill of festivals with all these bands. So everybody knows each other in some iteration of band members. And David saw me play, and he kind of had it clocked in his head. So when the bass chair opened for Whitesnake, he immediately called me, and he's like, I saw you play. Do you remember we met at such and such? I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's cool. And then, yeah, and then I met Bruce for the orchestra gig. So now I'm doing the Bruce Dickinson gig. And yeah, it's a lot of juggling the 80s.
it's amazing. And I mean, I guess like, we'll talk a bit about the Highway to Health in a minute, but there was the episode where you're actually in America kind of seeing where Derek grew up and his hometown, and then you're
yeah.
but the next episode he's come to like Ireland to see where you're from, and it's like they're two different worlds, you know. And
Yeah.
when you moved to America and you started doing all this, what was it like for you? Was there any kind of like, especially as you're coming back and forth, was it quite strange for you, because it's like you existing in two different places, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I mean, I hated LA. I'll be
Yeah.
totally honest. Like, I
Yeah.
really didn't like it because, and now I don't live in LA anymore. I live in a tiny town hours outside of it because I am a small town girl at heart,
Yeah.
and I need that. I need that calmness when I'm off the road. I need to be like as far away from people and as close to nature as possible. I didn't like it, but again, back to your gut point, there was something in me that like, this is where the people are. Like, I would go to all these iconic venues, some of which sadly are gone now.
Mm.
But you've got the baked potato, and you've got the whiskey, and you've got the Viper, and you've got these places where on any given night of the week at that time, I think I caught the last wave of like really being able to go to LA, meet the other session musicians, make these connections and networks, get recommended for gigs. So it's just this process of like, well, I have to be around the people that are doing the thing that I'm trying to achieve. So it wasn't that I liked LA, I hated Hollywood. It was, there's a lot of sketchy, shady people
Yeah.
around. You're somewhat young and vulnerable in a sense that like you're here alone. I'm broke as a motherfucker because like the difference between earning a good living in small town Ireland versus trying to make that like translate to living in LA, to rent a room in a
No.
house full of people, or to even stay at a hostel is like an entire month's income in Ireland. So like figuring that out and being like, oh my God, I have to like really up my game here if I need to be here.
I mean, it's unimaginable. I was a music journalist in London when I was younger, and
Oh, wow.
that was that rock and metal for rock sounds, and it was like that was one thing. But I can't, in America you've got the taxes on top of everything, and it's like it's unimaginable. Because I was like, oh, I'll be all right on this holiday to LA. I've got a bit of money. I also hated it, but I was like, oh my God, I'm broke, and all I've had is like some chips. It's like here's $2 on top of that, and I'm like, what am I paying for here? It's a salad. Or,
Yeah. No, totally. It's definitely a different experience for sure.
yeah. But
It's very overpriced, especially now. But I don't know how I guess you just figure stuff out. You figure it out as you go, and you have to work more.
pure nerve. Yeah. I mean, let's talk a little bit now about like the Highway to Health as well, and
Mhm.
how that kind of came about, because it's a great like documentary series, and you learn a lot about places and food and like different cultures and different people's stories. So yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Thank you. And I hope that we can like send some stuff over to you guys. We were talking about doing some stuff with Viva because it's made another. I do so. I think that the thing that now people are starting knowing more because I'm posting more about it. But I do a lot of work outside of music. Most of it's in the background. I work for a lot of foundations. Like I just came back from Africa and doing a big collaboration in Senegal with a women's foundation out there. But I do a lot of stuff just because what I've been trying to do the whole time with my music career is bring back. So that childhood activist side of me is first and foremost who I am. And I ended up being a bass player. So it's like, how do I bridge the two, and how do I use this platform that I've created? Because I certainly don't want the platform just for a platform. Like it seems like an empty shell unless you're using your platform for a mission of some kind. So over the years, I've had all these different like passion projects and ideas to like, how can we just use our platforms to normalize veganism and show how easy and fun it is? So Derek and I have been friends for years, and obviously Derek is touring with Sepultura for 100 years now, as he'd say. But if myself and Derek have been touring around the world forever, and we were sitting talking one day actually in Dublin, and he had an idea for a show and I had an idea for a food thing, and it's like, why don't we just join forces? Because as touring musicians who spend most of our lives on the road, if we can do this, we can show how easy it is. So that's how it initially started. And my friends in Dublin have a production company, and we were like, let's just, start filming some stuff and let's meet up on the road. And everyone I reached out to said, yes, let's do it. And then, so we started, I went out and I fundraised a little bit through the plant-based philanthropic movement to see if we could get some backing, just, get the cameras, get the visas, get the travel stuff. So we went out and we ended up filming like an entire series. But like many people in projects, COVID kind of screwed us timing wise, because we ended up having filmed all this amazing stuff, and then the entertainment industry just went bam. So right as we were ready to, you know,
Hey, baby, I was just out the room a moment. Yeah, this is great. I'll just show you quick. I don't think she's mentioned. She mentions Africa more in a moment. I'll just play these bits before it, just so I'm not following it up. So it's a nice way to do it. So, interestingly, the only Viva country in Africa, I didn't realise Viva had reached out like that. It's Uganda. He brings back some memories. Hey, well, we've got so much to re-establish there, reconnect with. But yeah, look, Viva Uganda, viva.ug. How cool, huh? And we can look at that at a later date. But it's Tanya, isn't it? Is that her name? Forgotten it. Yeah, Tanya Callahan. So she recommended this woman she worked with. She's called Amy Molly on this title, but her actual name that she refers to, that Tanya refers to her as, is Molly Merchant, or something like that. I'll just play this quick. It's just a little book trailer for her book.
For me, the word toast on means the spread of knowledge and the sharing that has to go on in order for people to learn and grow and develop. If you don't know human rights, if you don't even know you have the right to health, if you don't know you have the human right to be free from all forms of violence, it's very difficult to even learn about health. Once people learn their human rights, they soon realize that they can speak out. They have the right to speak out, express their dissatisfaction, and work towards making things different. I hope that I've been able to bring this message and to show people how they can support a movement for social transformation that is peaceful, that unifies, that is joyful, that reinforces positive traditions, and those which are negative, that we don't come in and condemn or judge, but rather we say, you will find the right answer because you are intelligent people who do love your children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's just I think this is a sign that things are going to come back round in to be remedied now. Thick. You're so thick, Kaylee. Because when you talk about anybody, it's always talking about Clyde, isn't it? It's always Clyde's got to be the the focus of your comment is always Clyde, regardless of who you're talking about. So if there's any generalisation, if you don't specify somebody else, Kaylee, then Clyde is obviously your target because he's your obsession, you know. Oh dear. But you also got rejected. Got rejected by AJ. It's just so tragic. And big up Dupes, big up G Block, big up Empress, Skint, and all the sick ones about your children. Ring. Is that the one he deleted? So those ones he deletes when he knows that it's like proper malicious, proper malcoms. Hey, this you think you can get away with this because it's just like it's just little things. I should actually screen share some of his fucking comments. I can do it on this one because he's not blocked me. I have to go on the other way. I have to sign out otherwise for Danny West and Clyde. Actually, I don't know what this song is. I'm just going to play it because it hasn't got a single like, and I was just about to unsubscribe to the channel because of this this channel overload issue I've got. But just while I'm finding some comments of his, I'm going to play this. Right, I'd never heard it before, so I don't know what it was going to be like. Well, that was weird. Yeah, it's gang stalking. So I haven't followed the comments. Look at this, Kaylee. Becca's just gone live playing a game. And then there's the only commenter, unless someone's got me blocked, is yay old DJ Matthew Dork. Morning, Becky. You playing this abomination of a game, then it got banned in Japan. This, they said it was insulting to martial Japanese culture. Oh dear. What should we do? Oh yeah, I was going to look at the. Did I play this one? I can't remember if I played this, and I'm going to find some pip comments.
My belief is very fringe. You know, my belief that my life does not have more value than the life of a rat or a cow. I don't expect other people to agree with me. That's my belief. What I can expect other people to agree with us on is that, you know, killing innocent animals, causing fear and pain and suffering is a bad thing, especially when the consequences are not just deaths for the animals, but like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, rainforest deforestation, ocean acidification, famine, water use, climate change, zoonotic disease, antibiotic resistance. People don't have to agree with me that my life has no more importance than a pig, but they can agree that all those other things are like quantifiable evidence-based data, you know, that come from using animals for food. My belief is very fringe. You know, my belief that my life does not have more value than the life of a rat or a cow. I don't expect.
Yeah, these recent essays of yours, Pip, are just so cringe as fuck. It's just beyond, like, it's just so it's sad. It's really sad. I just don't know if I can even be bothered to read them out. They are what they are. They're just. It's just it's just such desperation and like. Is it delusion, or is it like you're not deluding yourself that this is a reality? I imagine that you're just, you know, you're panicking and you're thinking up some way of trying to, I don't know, I suppose it's a sort of delusion. I don't know, I'm not really the psychologist to explain it, but I don't really get it. And this sort of like street language like persona that you put on, I don't believe you used to do that. You've taken on. Wasn't Rule Britannia? Let's spit some truth. Wasn't he the one that spoke like this more? Or maybe you were the same person. Maybe, you know, that house they raided in I think it was America, some online abuse thing, had 42 devices. I don't know if they're laptops or phones or whatever, but 42 devices. It was like a, what do you call it? Like a it's one of those ones where they're like blackmailing children online and stuff. You know, so you'd have one person where they would think that you were just talking to them because you were always signed in on that device talking to that person, but he was doing it to. It was extortion, I think, as well. Yeah, exploit it. You know, threatening, getting them to do sexual. You know, blackmail. You know, grooming them into doing a sexual thing online and then blackmailing the family and stuff. 42 devices, I think it was, from memory. It's definitely just over 40. Yeah, it's just so. I can't even bring myself to read them out. They're just so like cringy written, like, and just so empty, just total empty. It's beyond. It's not. It's waffle basically. I don't really like to use that term because it's suppose it triggers me a little bit because people have accused me of waffling a lot all the time, and now they're going to get their reality checks. But and not saying I haven't done at times, not being concise enough, or maybe relayed some things that were not of the most grounded information. Maybe not as being as sober as I should have been when I was talking about certain things at certain times, but moving forward with wisdom. Yeah, it's just so pathetic, so sad. Really does feel so sad for you. I mean, you know what you are, you know how scared you are, and you know why you are what you are, and why you're here every moment. You're just there. You're just there, ready to anything. Like, it's just, you could just be totally addicted to it, and just somehow you're one of the ones that got groomed into this paedophile network through your own weakness and your narcissism and Schadenfreude kicks. But yeah, I don't need to go through anymore. Kaylee's nicely consolidated them here for me. I hadn't seen this post. This is maybe I did actually. I hadn't seen the reply. Yeah, I hadn't seen this because I hadn't liked that comment. Or this one. Yeah, it's cringe, but it's criminal. So fucking criminal. It's proper fucked and made it so much worse for all the other idiots. All these creeps bigging each other up 24/7 for years. It's gross. But it's ending. Absolutely. So desperate to be noticed. So back to the program. Still just got DJ in our chat is talking to himself. I wonder if she's even replied.
It would be one like you.
I doubt it. So how are you doing anyway, Becky? I'm doing, really getting there now with the music studio. Got a couple more keyboards to get and need a 20-track mixing desk. I'm gonna have all this off you. Now I'm gonna we're going to what's the word, like we're going to repossess your equipment and donate it to the prison that you're going to be in, so you can have a group music session, or we call it rehab. We're not a polytunnel rehab, rehabilitation, healing, reflection, healing basically, and justice. There's got to be relative justice for the abuse that you've caused on the children and the women and myself and Justin and all the other men, and clearing out the spare bedrooms ready to set it all up. Then I'm going into the commercial recording studio business, doing MDID studio stuff. Maybe he means MIDI music thingy, but he's just so fucking deranged. He's just such a fantasist. Like, does he actually believe this stuff that he types? Just such a fucking absolute fantasist. I mean, he might have that intention, but so much of the shit he writes, when he goes on about the gangster families, naming all these people and all these women that live out near him, and this one, so and so from here, so and so from there, it's just fucking tragic. Oh my god, he's so Pip. You are just beyond delusional. Like, it's just so. how, why you think this isn't going to be dealt with is just, it's just, where have you been? What are you doing? Like, like, who's telling you what? So anyway, let's just get on with the interview.
Edit everything and kind of get it out there. So that's why we decided to put what's currently up on YouTube. So it's just been like a slow drip as we figure out like where it should live, because we just want to give it. We just want to put it out. It's not that we're like holding it to try and get like the perfect deal. It's just really fun footage from all over the world that we cover. It's mostly food and it's mostly exploring like plant-based cuisines and all that. But we also have some really cool guests, like from totally different walks of life. We touched into like the materials world, so taking animals out of like the materials world, you know, the automotive industry. We talked to Ford in Brazil. We were on board with Sea Shepherd. We did like loads of different stuff, but it all comes back to like, essentially, if there's one thing that's as close to a panacea as the world can find, it's like if everyone starts to transition to plant-based. So, and it's just fun. It's all very positive because both Derek and I feel that
Recharge Panacea projects. Yay.
it's really hard in the animal rights movement, as you know, like to exist knowing all this shit constantly every second is happening to animals, but you have to find positive ways to live, you know, living by example as we do. It's like we go around the world, we live some of the most brutal travel lives there are. I know touring on the outside looks super glamorous. And, you know, sometimes some parts of it are more high end or whatever, but no matter whether you are flying private and have your own drivers, you're still on the go constantly, like in a different country every day, playing shows every night. So our whole thing was, if we can do it, anybody can do it. If we're in, you know, Bulgaria or Brazil, or we're in the Antarctica, or we're in Australia, wherever we are, like, and we're not even thinking, it's just super easy to be vegan anywhere. It's trying to break down that misconception around it being hard, because
Yeah.
I've never found it hard.
That's interesting. I mean, I know for me, like Happy Cow as an app was a godsend. You know, I was in Japan when I was like 26, I think. And I had no idea like where I was, how I was going to get anywhere. I was like, this is one of those journeys you should kind of pay attention to. And, you know, it's kind of like you can't just make it up and see what happens when you get there, Faye. And at the time I was like, I don't know how vegan I was. I was just trying to guess off the menu and like eating round things. I was like, I think this is tofu, but Happy Cow, like, is this okay? You know, but like,
I don't think it looks like it comes from an animal.
I can't tell, but I'm also so starving at this point. Like, it's been weeks now, and it's like, it's
it
hard.
might be an eyeball, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. I hope it was already dead when they sourced it. Like, what? No, this is weird. And it's like, yeah, like Happy Cow completely revolutionized like travel, and it made things so simple. Even if it's just like, okay, go to this place and you can get like, I don't know, you can get carrots and eat them if needs be. You know?
No, totally. And it's a great tool, like Happy Cow, Yelp, Google, I use all the time. But before that, before we had that, I always tell people this, and I just started writing my first book actually, and it is a cookbook with all my musical journey through it. But one of my biggest tips has always been order sides, because that's what I did from when I was like super young. Because no matter where you go, whether it's a pub in Ireland or whatever, you know, a steakhouse in the US, everywhere has sides. And if you look at it for a minute, chances are you can build a little meal around, you know, baked potato and some broccoli or whatever. So it's like, order the sides, look at the sides, or just read what's actually in the dish and just take the chicken out and ask, you know, if they have something like cashew nuts or whatever. But even at that, if you have to, for one or two meals, take the protein out, you're not going to die.
No, you'll be fine. And also, we don't need as much as people keep saying we do. We're okay. We survive.
Yeah, no, we're a little bit obsessed with that. I mean, that's a whole other conversation.
know,
but
yeah.
I'm somehow alive.
We all
Like
are.
it's a miracle. I'm seriously like 30 something years later. I'm just waiting to die of that protein deficiency. I don't know when it's gonna happen.
I think you'll be all right. It's you've traveled pretty much everywhere. Did you ever have any kind of misconceptions maybe, or where you think it would be difficult to get vegan food, but then it turned out to be completely the opposite? Or
I think that because maybe it's just a mindset thing, I've never really found it super difficult. I think one of the places I was most surprised, I've toured a lot around Brazil, and Brazil is huge. And everyone would tell me before I go to Brazil, it's going to be so hard because like there's so much meat. Oh my God. I'm like, wow, God, and I think it is the easiest place in the world to be vegan because it's Brazil. They have like the most remarkable fruits and vegetables, like stuff that looks like it's out of a fairy tale because they have the Amazon and the markets there. You go and like it's just so abundant in fruits and vegetables. It's unbelievable. But I think just because of the traditions of the meat houses, the churrascerias and all that, and again, it's the whole thing. Like you go and there's all these traditional dishes that has like one meat aspect, and I could just ask for it without that. And then I'm like, that feijoada is now vegan because you took that out. And everyone's like, oh yeah,
yeah.
like just put sweet potato in, or they have the best fruit in the world. So there's a couple of countries like that where people would say to me, oh God, it's gonna be so hard, or some of the Slavic countries. But again, it's sides like always save the day. I think the hardest places health wise, not so much that you can't get options, is touring like a bus tour in America because you're like you're pulling into those like very generic strip malls where the bus is gonna gas up, and there's all the usuals like McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, and I don't want to eat that. So I'll go to the petrol station or gas station, as the US says, and I will get, apple popcorn, a bag of nuts, and I'll sustain myself until I go to the hotel or whatever, because I don't want to just eat the fast food. But other than that, I think everywhere has been, again, because I have been doing this my whole life.
Yeah.
It's probably, it's so normal to me. There's some places that definitely associate meat with affluence. So I remember when I first went to Africa, and in South Africa, it was very funny actually, because I went into townships it was wonderful. I got invited into Langa to meet the families in like one of the poorest places in the world. There's 1 million people in the township. But the family invited me in for dinner, and because I was a Western guest, they had gotten meat.
Oh no.
They can't afford meat. And they
Yeah.
eat like this, usually it's kind of like maize, puck, and it's fantastic, and some veggies. But it was hilarious because the person that was translating was like, she doesn't eat animals, and they're just dying laughing. It's
Oh.
like, what? I'm like, you please eat it, don't waste
Yeah.
it, please have it. And then we ended up having this really funny exchange. But that happens sometimes. Like I just came back from Senegal. I was in Senegal and Kenya, and there is an association, unfortunately, in some developing worlds that meat equals affluence, which I love having conversations with, because I'm like, actually, how you eat naturally, you guys have it right.
Yes. It's
Meat
it's
is
so
just being
true.
kind of forced. It's like a marketing thing, and obviously what it's doing to the planet and the oceans and everything else we could go on for hours about. But that's fascinating to me because I saw it in China as well. The first and the second time I went to China, like the difference when you see more and more fast food chains come in and you see more and more obese Chinese children, which is, your brain is like, but wait, culturally, they're not an overweight culture
No.
naturally. And then you're looking around going, oh yeah, no, these weren't here before. Okay, yeah.
It's really sad, and it's obviously,
Yeah.
it's the Western influence, isn't it, upon them? And
Yeah.
I mean, we've got Viva Uganda, and so we
Oh,
do.
awesome.
Yeah, it's great, but we do projects out there, and it's really sad because actually traditionally they had a very good diet.
Amazing.
And it's so sad because actually now, yeah, like you say, affluence and meat, that association, but now they're
Yeah.
starting to get the kind of health problems that go along with that, the diabetes,
100%.
all of the, type 2 diabetes, all the things that you expect from red meat diets.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do like a project there that's kind of like Love Your Heart for 7 days, and it's literally just kind of taking
I
them
love
back
that.
to their roots and what they were already
It's so
doing before
amazing.
Western
It's
intervention.
yes.
And
100%. I literally just, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more. I think I talked to Andy about it a bit because I just came back from Senegal and I'm doing this project, which is very similar, but through an existing foundation where we're going to add a module to this amazing, amazing foundation called Tostan that my hero runs, Molly Melching. She's been out there for 50 years now.
wow.
Long story short, Molly went in the 70s to do a French language exchange and never got the telegram that it was cancelled.
Oh, no.
She stayed. And that wasn't her plan, but she basically, there's a book called However Long the Night that I urge absolutely everybody to read because her approach to social change is something that inspires me every day. And it really spoke to me because she doesn't go in and like judge people based on, you know, a lot of times foundations go in and they mean well, but they're not communicating with people. You can't just, you know, go in and say, well, this is how we do it, so we're banning that, we're doing that. So Molly has done remarkable work in education for children and also FGC with female genital cutting, but not through like a judgmental way, through education with women for human rights and the fact that you have rights. So anyway, Molly and I became connected a couple of years ago, and like, how could we collaborate? So I went out, and to your point, it's so interesting because I had the most remarkable talks in the villages with farmers. How hard it is, because I'm thinking, you know, if you're having a hard time with drought and food and enough food for your family, it must be super hard to also keep animals alive.
Yeah.
And they know their soil so well. They know they're so in tune with the land. It's just like I was so in awe of how innately in tuned people are out there to you're already doing it right. Exactly to your point. Like your traditional diet is so healthy and you don't have all these heart disease, diabetes, other things, obviously, that you come up against that, you know, we don't have as many problems with medically in the US, but that's more due to like poverty line stuff. But don't let the West influence come in because as you see heart disease, as you see all that. And I think that was so inspiring for me and for them to have that conversation of like, you guys are actually you are doing it the right way. Please lead the world. Like, you are doing it the right way. And that was super fun. So I'm going to be going back in a couple of months. We're going to be setting that all up. And it'll be like between Gambia and Senegal. And I'm sure we might have some crossover with it. So
Absolutely. Oh, that's an amazing project. It's going back to your roots again, isn't it? It's that activism and wanting,
yeah.
you know, things to be more fair. And we found that as well. Just like we're doing a gorilla, basically protecting gorillas out there as well. And we've teamed up
Nice.
with local rangers, and some of them used to actually be poachers, and they've
I love that.
done
I love
180, and now
Yes,
they're
yeah.
protecting the gorillas. And there's
Yeah.
so many different assets to it. Like it's like planting kind of like forestry and things like that keep the gorillas aren't really interested in, to keep that barrier away from, like, you know, humans, because they're encroaching ever closer to them. And
Nice.
there's so much potential to like help, but working with the people, because they, like you say, they know everything. They know the land.
They know everything.
They're
They
so
know
much
everything,
more
and
connected.
you have to zone out because I think it's one of the detrimental things. I know most like activism is meant well, but with poachers, for instance, and I have a few friends that run different like anti-poaching foundations, especially in Africa. But it's not like, if you really zoom out and look at the problem, the poachers are most likely poorer people who are being paid by whomever it is to do this horrible job. I don't think that they ever want to be doing it. So if you take the poachers who intuitively love and know their land and put education into the equation of like why it's more important to protect, of course they're going to go do that. They don't want to be killing them. It's the same like we talk to illegal fishers, you know, undercover stuff down in Mexico, where it's a trade from somewhere else. It's some Eastern or Asian trade that they're being paid to poach, and they're getting paid to do that, and they're desperate because they want to feed their families. So you really need to zoom out on these problems and I think education is like the most powerful tool for like forward motion with social change, for sure. And I love to hear that you guys are doing that instead of, because a lot of people, there's a lot of like performative activism, you know, banners on Facebook. This is now what my banner says. And it's like, okay, that's lovely. But, and again, I think people are inherently kind, and I think most people want to see things done the right way. But like action like that is really profound.
No, I agree. I think it's, again, not to keep attacking the West, but it's things kind of get like
West.
Yeah, I know it's terrible, but you saw it with like things like Pride when it just became a marketing activity, and you're like, wait, hang on, what is behind all this? This is absolutely so far removed at this point. It's everything's
Well, I
just
think
advertising.
Yeah, but it's so distracting because at the end of the day, I mean, I wish it wasn't so complicated. I wish that we didn't need a label as vegans. I mean, this pisses a lot of vegans off. I'm like, please shut up because I've been doing this my whole life. People give me shit because I say I don't like the word, not because I'm not a proud vegan. It's a label that to me suggests my ethics more than the food, right? But I don't think it should need a label. It should
Agreed.
go without saying. I don't think all the labels do is like categorize everybody into whatever it is, politics or food choices or sexual choices, religious choices, whatever. And then we're all like, okay, all in these little boxes.
It's true.
It
It's
should just
true.
go without saying that you should live a kind life.
Yes.
Be as kind as you can to others and all species or whatever. And that, if that sounds hippie, then so be it. But
No, I don't think it does. And it's right. They're all designed anyway for like infighting and for division. That's the
It's
whole
exhausting.
purpose. Yeah.
yeah. I think it ends up distracting us from, like, I was talking about this the other day at a conference that, like, unfortunately, it's actually quite boring, the solution in a way. Like, it's quite like politics should be boring. Politics shouldn't be all over. Like, it shouldn't be a Twitter war or whatever's
No.
going on. They're civil servants. It's supposed to be quite like, just go get the work done. It has
Yeah.
become like the worst game show in the world, in every country.
Yeah.
But the same with activism. It's like it's now kind of dangerous that you see people do, because it waters down the real work, and there's people doing real work, obviously, but you see, on social media, someone recording themselves doing a good deed
Oh, I
and
hate
being like,
that.
look at me do the thing.
Yeah.
And it's this very strange psychological shift in the human race. It's like, hold on a minute. That's like, in order to have true altruism, you shouldn't need to brag
Yeah.
about it. So then when, it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf, when there is actual amazing work going on and someone tries to fundraise or push, it gets so watered down that I always have found it just way better to work quietly in the background.
Agreed.
Just
Yeah.
like too.
It's gross. I find it a bit disgusting, honestly, when people are doing that. Like, here's a homeless guy, I gave him this and changed his life, and you're like, just stop it, like, please. It's really vile.
Yeah. We definitely live in a weird
Yeah,
tech time.
we do. Let's keep it positive, though. I mean,
Yes,
it's like,
absolutely.
I mean, the work you're doing it's amazing, and it feels like you're very much kind of going back into that kind of. Did you ever lose that activist spark, or is that just something you've had your whole life?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It just gets more and more. I think the period of me trying to really sink my roots into the US music scene, there was, I wouldn't say a pause. Like, I've always been vegan, and I've always been like, every conversation, every meal has, it comes up in my why, and I'm constantly talking to people about it. But no, it's just like, and once I settled here and got the actual visa, I immediately started to, I'm like, okay, now I have my visa, I can stay here. Where are the animal rights groups? So that's when I started to like figure out who I could connect with in that realm, and start to get to know people who were doing the documentaries, people who were doing the protests and the vigils, and I was very heavily involved early on. But no, that never leaves, because that is long before I was a baser. That's who I am, and I ended up having this platform, which is great and wonderful, and what an honor to have toured the world with all of these people. But more and more now, like, I transition back into my roots, and I obviously will still continue to tour, but I found a much better balance with how I can spend my time, as far as I would have been like I've been on tour for 20 years,
Wow.
basically. But
Yeah.
for the past
Wow.
10, I have not been off the road much for breaks longer than a month or two, because I'm in multiple bands. One tour would finish, I might have a week or so to get ready, and then I'd be gone out again. And that was really hurting my heart with activism,
Yeah.
because I couldn't go and get involved in all this stuff. But in the last 2 years or so, I've really started to find a balance that, like, I'm going to tour for 3 or 4 months of the year, and the rest of the year is going to be all this work. So I'm always on the road because of that, but it's a different type of on the road.
Yeah. No, it's great. And you're kind of fulfilling all of the different needs as well, that you've got that way. And you could be like, okay, I'm actually going to do this project as well. And,
Yeah.
Really get
Yeah.
stuck into that. And it makes a difference, which is just, so positive as well.
I hope so. And like,
Mm.
oh, sure, look, we'll die trying at least.
No, it's great. It's funny. I was laughing because again, just to harp back to that episode I was watching when you went back to Ireland and your granny's there.
It's so funny. My granny.
It
Oh
was-
my god.
She's a gem. Like, protect her.
She's
at all costs.
97.
Wow.
She just turned 97. Yeah.
But she was. I was laughing, and she's like, "Oh, it's a bit like a cult, veganism."
It's a bit like, but it's a nice one.
and a good cult, yeah. And she's like, and it's funny because it's like it is like the movement is growing like so much. When you were like at the fruit and veg shop that you've been to, and there's the guy from Brazil who's
Foxy.
working there, Foxy.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and he's
then-
vegan, right? And it's like more and more prevalent, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this is great. It is going in that
Yeah.
direction.
Totally. But like I have a conversation with my nanny often when I'm home and with, the guys like that. When I think back to my childhood and when I think back to how people actually eat, and I always, I slag my granny that sure you're basically vegan because the way that we would traditionally eat and a lot of cultures before like abundance became and marketing became so prevalent and more in bigger portions, it was actually only a tiny piece of meat, probably once a day. The rest of the plate in Ireland is always like potatoes, mountain of potatoes.
Yeah.
We're mad for our spuds. And, some cabbage, some carrots, whatever. And when I say to nanny, like in breakfast would be porridge, oatmeal, maybe toast, or, if you're fancy, orange or something,
Yeah.
bit of fruit. But when you really like dissect how we eat, it's vast majority plant-based. And that is actually the case for a lot of people. But our psyche around meat being so important in the center point is so interesting. And it just became more and more over the years. So when people are asking for like tips and tricks on how to, have more plant-based meals, I'm like, well, actually look at your day. Like I remember the first time I talked to Molly, and she's been living outside of Dakar for years now. I was on the phone to her and she was at her house in Les Simone. And she's like, yeah, I don't know how hard it's going to be for you here when you come, because I'm not worried at all. Like, I know already that like one of my favorite, like I love West African food, Pinot curries, mafe, all that stuff. But I'm like, hey, just tell me what you ate today. And she's like walking around, they have lots of fruit trees. She's like, oh, well, I had papaya and I had this. And she lists everything plant-based
Just
except for
tick.
fish because they live on the coast. And I remember being on the phone to her saying, so you're vegan?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, no, we eat. And she's like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much everything. Because we eat a lot of millet. They eat a lot of like amazing grains, all this stuff. So when you really step back and look at what you're eating, like culturally, there's so many things that just with a small tweak. Like I remember being in Turkey a couple of months ago, and I love everyone. Again, it was one of those places where people said, it's going to be so hard. It's all kebabs. Like Turkish food is super vegan.
Yes.
Super vegan. So because like it's just food is all psychology, so it's how you're looking at it, right? If you're convinced that one way meat is everything, meat is the center place, you're gonna, it's gonna take time for your mind's eye to sort of shift that. But because I look at it as
Yeah, I don't know how to describe Adam's just absolute self-destruction. It's the term quote unquote suicidal, isn't it? It's just totally. They just know they have nothing left, and it's just going into the death now. Yeah, it's just that sort of like kicking and screaming till it's desperation, like on steroids. Like it's really it's quite fascinating to witness. Very sad though, terribly sad.
there's like this bigger. There's like I always say the opposite. I think veganism is so easy because we don't eat we only don't eat two things,
Yeah.
meat and dairy, and then I eat everything else. So
I agree. Yeah, it is. I don't know if it's a mind. It's really hard. I think if you're stuck in that kind of rigid mind frame, it's always going to be more difficult. I mean, a lot of vegans, we were veggie first, for the most part. So you're kind of already halfway into that,
Of
and
course,
it's not
yeah.
so difficult. But yeah, some people will never. They just don't want to learn as well, and that's their thing,
and
isn't it?
I think it's I always encourage people like, hey, if you're willing to do 1 or 2 days a week,
Yeah.
awesome. I think that sometimes the vegan movement can, be very detrimental to itself, aiming for perfection. Of course, we want a world where animals are no longer slaughtered anywhere, but we also have to be realists in the sense that, like, I think it's very positive if people are willing to shift towards, like, do a meat-free day, do 2 meat-free days, because you start to learn then culinary yourself, how creative it is. I've had so many friends do that, or bandmates over the years, or and I start cooking, and then they discover this whole abundance of a new way of cooking, or how simple it actually is, or how great vegetables taste when you get into cooking them. So I think that we have to be encouraging, and because you can't, like, we're all raised, and I come from a massive meat culture. You know, it's
And yeah, definitely cooking them without putting off the people too quick, but also raw.
I get it. Like, vegans aren't stopping eating meat because they don't like the taste of it. It's because of the reality of what has to happen for the meat to get to the table. So luckily now we live in a time where, of course, I don't really encourage like all the substitute meats and that they're better in the sense that, you know, there's many aspects of them that are better, but I'm always like, just look, Whole Foods, plant-based, like, it's incredible what you can do with your simple veggies, beans, rice, grains, whatever. So yeah, it's I wish it wasn't so complicated, and I wish we didn't, like, as lovely as it is to talk to you, I wish we didn't have to, like,
I know.
have these.
You kind of have to keep repeating the message as well. I mean, so many different like entry points for people into veganism. And I like what
Yeah.
you were saying, you know, yeah, people will come at it from different angles. So maybe for a lot of people around the culinary side, and it's like you say, oh, just try 2 days of this, or maybe just try this meal plan. Did you enjoy that? Or for people who do eat a lot of meat, you're like, okay, well, let's switch to the processed stuff so you can see the similarity in taste, and maybe that's then the journey. But yeah,
Because it is the most, as you know, it's the most powerful thing. Like, and not everybody's going to come at it from ethics, but if you don't care about the ethics of it or the animals, whatever, but like, if you have children, you should care about the planet in the long run, as far as there's just literally not enough land to keep producing the way that we do. Just how gross it is on the land, again, all the waste and all that. Like, we know all this, how much land has to be cleared, you know, the runoff into the oceans, etc., etc., etc. So if everybody collectively does an individual act of reducing, that's profound.
yeah,
Like, that is so profound. And it's like, in a world and in a time where it's so overwhelming, everything seems so overwhelming and everything seems so discombobulated. The fact that we can actually control that, I think, is amazing. And I think that's super empowering, that like every choice, every time you go to the grocery store and you vote with your dollar or euro or pound or wherever you are, you get to make a vote of how the system will be. So I think that that's incredibly powerful.
agreed. Well, thank you so much for chatting to me. Over the next sort of 12 months, what have you kind of got coming up then? I know you're going to throw yourself into some projects and...
Yeah. I was hoping to be rest for a minute, but no, I say that and then I never want to. I was just in studio with Bruce. So Bruce is doing a new album, so we've been doing demos for that. I have mostly foundation related work, so I'll be planning all the next steps for the African project that I'm doing, and then I will go into rehearsals in July, August for Bruce. We get ready for tour. We're going on tour August, September, October. So we do a 3-month tour, and then at the end of that, I will sleep for a few days, and then I'll go back to Africa, and yeah, I'll be all over the place. So yeah, I have a couple, and then I'm doing a little bit of like conference related work, because I'm starting to navigate into the spaces of like speaking more conferences on bigger corporations, stopping greenwashing and actually doing some action. Yeah. So between music and the projects in Africa, and a project I'm doing with veterans and Highway to Health, and there's always something.
There's always something. I mean, if there's anything we can do as well to help you, just let us know, because, you know, we can push stuff out as well to...
Yeah, I'd love to give you some of the Highway to Health content, to just have it out there, and you guys can do with it as you please. It's just hopefully a positive, a positive thing for people to see.
It's great. It's such a good series. It's really good.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the work you guys do for the animals.
No, thank you. Great speaking to you, Tanya, and take care of yourself.
He's definitely going to work with animals for sure. And then I picked up a bass, and Oops. Like the rest is
that
history.
works.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I really didn't plan, and I'm completely self-taught. It wasn't a thing that, oh,
Yeah.
let me go get trained as a musician.
That was the beginning of YouTube having lots of videos and so on, where you can be self-taught very, very well.
Yeah, but I didn't even have that.
You didn't?
No, because like I'm from a small town in Ireland. It's not that we were that behind, but I'm also like, I'm the opposite to you. I'm a total technophobe. Like, God love me, I can barely send an email. Thankfully, I have a team with Highway to Health, because I'm really good with people and in person and solving problems with tech stuff. So I think,
Good for
like,
you.
I just remember having Napster and like the slowest dial-up internet on the planet in my hometown. So I would come home from school, try to download an album that I wanted to listen to or learn, go downstairs, eat dinner, watch something, come back up, and it's still downloading.
I know.
So the way that I learned was, so I joined bands really, really fast. I was like in my first band within 6 weeks. I had playing
No
bass.
way.
I think this is kind of what the crucial thing was when I look back. That became my teacher. My cousin had a heavy metal band called Severed. We were total rebels. I was only just playing bass, and they needed a bass player. So it's like, bass, here you go. We're in drop C, which is really, really low for anyone. Actually, we're in drop C sharp. Anyway, we need a bass player, so you have to play. And it was that going, okay, and diving in. I was immediately playing.
Oh, that's
And
incredible.
I'm learning from tapes. So I, it kind of shows tape, not even a CD.
Just a little update on DJs. Just write one more comment. All Eyes has done a hey Becca, love. El Cid, it's a bit of an obscure one. Gonna find out who that is. And DJ Matthew, is it any good, this game? Last Assassin's Creed I played was the Odyssey one and had to go at the Origins, but not touched any of those games since. It's just so desperate. Where's DJ? Wait, come over to my chat. Where are you, DJ? Can't give me some shit, you fucking stupid paedophile fool.
CD, and you're like putting the tape in and rewinding it and trying to hear. And I was doing everything by ear. And then not long after that, I joined a corporate wedding band. So you're doing like, top 40 hits. And I was always the worst player in the band by a mile. So I was chasing professional players and their skill set. So I think when I look back, that's what got me so deep into learning so fast, because I was always having to learn songs. And I kind of realized early, I was like, hey, if I'm in loads of different bands and playing with loads of different people, this is really good. And then when you have to be on stage, which I did not like at the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing up here. So I just dove in like crazy fast into performing, into being in multiple bands. And by the time I was playing like 3 years, I was in 7 or 8 bands at a time.
No way.
I was like a lunatic. I just was in everyone who needed a bass player. I was like, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. It was like duos, trios, pop things, heavy metal, singer-songwriter, you name it. I was trying to put it together. I was trying to obsessively organize like different bands, because I wanted to see if I could be like a session musician. I thought, everyone says you can't make a living in music. I was like, as soon as somebody tells you you can't do something.
So as soon as someone tells you can't do something.
Maybe that's a personality trait. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically that's the long and short. Like I was in bands really fast. And then I did go to music college for a very, very brief stint, where I went to a place in Dublin that I kind of accidentally got into, which is funny because I dropped out of school. I always did really well. And part of my dropping out was kind of a fuck the system moment as a rebellious teenager, because I was so curious. I am a curious person and I love to learn, but it was just so, the system, as it still is for a lot of people, doesn't suit different types of learners.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm in a all-girls Catholic Irish school in rural Ireland, and you have to learn this, and this. I'm like, what I really want to do, I want to do stuff in whatever it was, like woodwork or music. I want to play drums. They're like, no, you can only play violin or piano. You only have these languages to choose from. You can only choose from these science subjects. And I wanted to just learn so much more. So I left and I went to do a music course, and that's how it all started. So I was there for a moment. That's when I joined the bands. But it's mad because it was all these moments of realizing I don't want to. It's the same when I was a little girl and I realized what meat was. My gut instinct went, don't waste any more time on that, go here. Don't waste any more time on that, go here. And so far, it served me well in life. But to your original question, I had no idea I would become. So I don't know how you become a rock star because I don't consider myself a rock star at all. I'm a total dork.
No, it's quite interesting when you texted me about working with Bruce. And you know, Bruce Dickinson to me is probably one of the top 3 vocalists. I love Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden is my second favorite band, and so on. I was like, do you know their music? Like, are you going to play Steve Harris? Which, in my view, with all due respect to you, Mister,
No.
is Steve Harris
He's
is
phenomenal.
the
Yeah.
ultimate, you
Yes,
know,
Mr.
bass
Triple.
guitarist. Unbelievable, right? And you know, but then you just had to learn those very quickly, and it's quite something because to me, as a gamer, as a video gamer, this means that you're not really interpreting music. Music is natural to you. You would hear it, you would learn it, and you can just perform it, right? And you know, this is more of a talent, I would say, for most people. But the reality is it isn't. It's also when you said, but I went on, you know, performing live, and I was in bands, and I was in 7 bands at the time, and which is very similar to the story of the Beatles. If people remember how 8 days a week was the documentary, I think. It was basically that they played so much that they became so good at it.
Comes so innate to you, yeah.
So do you think there is this thing as, you know, such a thing as talent, or
It's a great question because I think, like, I'm humbled by this all the time with the people I work with, because this particular group of musicians, and a lot of musicians I've worked with are highly trained musicians, especially when you're talking about, like, I mean, they've been through, you know, they have degrees in music, they read like machines, just things I can barely name the notes that I'm playing.
Is that true?
I'm all ear. I mean,
Yeah.
I can, but it's not like I'm always like, oh my God, this person is like this world class, like maestro musician. But what they all have told me, which I'm getting better at taking the compliment because I have a hard time with compliments. So Irish people have a very hard time taking any compliment. We just deflect it immediately. But it's pretty funny. But like Maestro, our conductor in this, who is like, as far as musicianship and skill goes, he's like a god in musicality. And he's like, the thing is, you're such a natural musician, how you play. So I think all the years of playing with so many different bands and that type of like just grassroots, like ground training, what you're really learning is to work with other people and dynamics and listening, which is so important in music. So it's not my job to go in and be like, listen to me and turn everything up. It's my job to honor the music and honor, in my case, the bass part of that and the rhythm section part of that. So it's that ability to go in and be part of a team that is most often pointed out to me by other people I play, which is a lovely thing to hear, because I'm a pretty modest person. So I don't want to, you know, I'm not looking for any like, wow, do you want to do a solo or more solos? I'm like, nope. I love my role as a bass player. I love it.
Tell me more about that. So my wonderful son Ali. So I'll a few secrets. When I played the guitar really, really, really well, and I was like everything I try to do. I try to be the best at it. And like you said, I did 4 to 6 hours a day, every single day, for a very long time. And then my retirement plan, believe it or not, this as actual truth. My retirement plan was that when I retire the corporate world, I'm going to become a bass player, right? I swear. Why?
That's still the plan?
I'll tell you what happened, because I believe that the bass players are the most chill, right? A little bit in the background, but truly the backbone of any rock band, right?
Yeah.
And then my son Habibi Ali, when he was 11, he came to me very apologetically and he said, Papa, I'm going to upset you. And I was like, what? Why? And he said, I'm going to steal your retirement dream. And so he chose to play bass. And Ali's character was so much a bass player. He was in the background, even though he held his band together, right? He really had mega input into the melodies and the music. So a lot of the music they composed, they were called Fox Hill 5. They did one album, but of course, you know, Ali didn't have enough time to make more, but they were very, very popular in Dubai. And he would be in the background. Even in the setup of the show, he's always in the shadow, right? but really holding the band together. And of course, Ali being a hottie patati, as his girlfriends used to call him, basically was the focal point of the band doing that. But it does take a different person to choose to play the bass. You know, the lead guitarist, the lead vocals is the guy that wants to be in the
Want to be out
spotlight,
front, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You don't come across as shy to me, but you're not hyper introverted. But
yeah, it's a balance of both, because now at this point in my career, obviously, like for anyone that has followed it, I'm known for running with hair everywhere. I love being
Yes.
like just dreads
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
up and down, or because I'm usually playing wireless, so I'm running
Yeah,
around.
you're running around.
So I
all
love
the
being on
time.
stage, but that partially is kind of like your stage persona and your alter ego. In day-to-day life, I'm just an introvert who's quite happy on her own reading a book and not being part of the
Don't
party.
say that. You're destroying the image of rock
Sorry
star.
to ruin it all, but anyone who knows me knows that, but it's funny. But I think, yeah, it does, because I love being a bass player for that reason. I'm still up there playing great music with great musicians, but I don't have to be up the front. I can come in and out, but I also just love the role of bass. I love rhythm. I love the foundational aspect of it. I love locking in with a drummer and knowing that like we've got the backbone of this, that no matter what falls
Yeah.
apart, like
Yeah,
I love that
exactly.
role. I love
Yeah.
that kind of glue, and I can sit on it. I just love groove and I love riffs. I don't feel any desire to be extra flashy. Of course, every now and then the song needs bits and pieces, or like in Whitesnake, David loves like, oh, he's pushing you up to the front, and that's great. But the reason I'm drawn to bass is that more fundamental reason, and that
Yeah.
just like
Sometimes
along in
it's
the
just one
background.
note, right? You add one note, the bass,
Or
and then poof,
the
whole song
power
is
of one
different.
note, and obviously the frequency of it is just
Yeah.
like, I'm so drawn to that
Yeah.
low sub frequency, and that's why a lot like people always laugh and they ask like favorite guitar players, for instance, and I'll say Lindsey Buckingham, and he never comes up in the top list because he's not a shredder, and he's not like Satriani or Malmsteen, and who are all phenomenal in their own right. But I love Lindsey Buckingham because he can solo and use 2, maybe 3 notes and bring you to tears because of dynamics and just feel
Exactly.
That's kind of the long and short.
No, I think the interesting side of being a bass guitarist as well is that most people who listen to music don't actually recognize the bass. So I used to tell my kids when we would be driving in the car together, I would actually play a song and then say, let's notice the bass, right? And I think probably this is one of the reasons why Ali loved bass so much. But most people don't recognize the backbone. I mean, it's really, really holding the song
but if
together.
it stopped, everything
Exactly,
would,
right? Yeah.
It's probably good. It's just you would notice fast if it was gone.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling you when you were playing Still of the Night when I came in.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like that bass line is so phenomenal because it's an 80s mix. It's so buried in the mix that I really wanted to learn it and honor Neil Murray, who's a phenomenal player, and he doesn't get enough recognition in the bass world. But when I dug in and I like got the mids and the lows up in the mix and heard what he was doing, I'm like, oh my god, this is beautiful. Like this is such a beautiful part. And the way that like it goes, because it's such a beautiful song anyway, with the bridge and the crazy outro, that when you honor it fully, it just brings it to life. And to be able to play that kind of like iconic bass lines with Tommy Aldridge on drums and with David Coverdale singing I'm like, how did I get here? Like, what's happening?
How did you get here?
I have no idea.
I don't have a lot of envy in my heart, but I have to say this is a beautiful place. I think especially the way you live it, Tanya, is a beautiful place. So an interesting, maybe segue to what you're really all about. Okay, so you're of course, being the bass guitarist of Whitesnake, when you said, let's, I'm going to be in London, let's go have a vegan meal together, I was like, yeah, I'll go with the master anywhere. So, just one selfie, please, right? But then you're so, I don't know if the word is bothered, but you're so concerned with our world and where our world is, and how, it seems to me quite interesting because there is people of influence or people of following or people of status or power or money are the ones that can change the world. But in reality, most of the time, you'll see that, if you're successful in business and you make a little bit of money, somehow something happens in someone's mind, and they just try to make even more money and even more money. If you're famous, you become addicted to fame. You told me, and I think that really, really got my heart, that this is your ticket, your pathway to be heard so that you can try to make a difference. Now, of what? What are you championing? Because you're championing quite a bit of things.
Yeah,
actually.
I mean, it's sort of like, where do you start with the problems in the world? But as far as I'm concerned, my mission since I was a little girl has always been very directly correlated to animal welfare, and with that, environmentalism. But really, all of that, it kind of umbrellas under just, we've just gotten so narcissistic as a human race, and so, like, exactly what you said, like, the more sort of power and the more status that we get, and that might just be like a false sense of that on social media, it's like the less we tend to use our skills for good, which is frustrating. So as far as what I was seeing early on was, as silly as it sounds, but if you're kind of in a band or you're a bit known, obviously you like more followers, whatever that means. It makes me so uncomfortable in a way. But maybe that you're not shouting just into an echo chamber. So if I can use this to sort of speak my truth per se, and my whole sort of life's work, I guess, comes down to the power we don't even know we have as consumers and as people, and what we can change like that if we wake up a little bit. So a lot of my mission is obviously directly related to veganism, plant-based, but I have a real problem with labels, and I think that it just immediately shuts doors. So
Yeah.
I've been a vegan my whole life, although I didn't really know I was until I was in my late teens, because I didn't have a word for it. I just
I didn't either. Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know, and I kind of wish I still didn't, because it applies to anything like politics, religion, your dietary choices, whatever. As soon as we start labeling each other, we immediately start to be in all these separate echo chambers, and that's just escalated obviously by social media. So it's trying to find ways to open conversations with everybody from all different walks of life on the simplicity of what we choose to purchase, what we choose to eat, has a massive, massive ripple effect on the planet, because we're all hardworking, and every single dollar or euro, wherever you're from, is a vote every day, all day long, is choose to what we support. And if we support the wrong things, it holds them up. If we don't stand up and have a voice for the voices, and that can be people, animals, whatever, nothing will change. But the world has kind of just come into this mass inertia. It's bizarre to watch, because I believe, maybe it's just to keep myself sane, I believe that people are inherently kind for the most part across the world. As someone who travels a lot, I meet endlessly wonderful people, just
I believe that 100%.
touring, traveling. But because of the way we've went in the digital age and the age of information, some great, and I love how you write about it. That's why I was drawn to your books. But we're also on this kind of hedonic treadmill, right? Like, I need more, but then we get there and we're not really doing any good with it, and we're just distracted more and more. So it's kind of like all the projects I do and all the posting or whatever is trying to simplify and just bring some normalcy to, hey, what you eat today, what you buy today, what you choose to click on, how you choose to react, it has a massive, massive effect, not only on yourself, because all of the cruelty, a lot of the cruelty in this world goes on behind closed doors. So people don't, like, in the animal rights world, I've been working in this since I was really young, and I've seen some horrible, horrible stuff so young. And I had to step away from it, like, because I was hands-on activist. I was working in a rescue shelter for 10 years, and it's just like you're kind of massive empath. I can't even think about it without like trying to not well up. But you're going, this is not right. So how do you find ways to show people who don't want to see it? Most people don't want to see what's going on in our food system, for instance. Like, this is where I choose to put a lot of my focus. So traveling and touring and being such a foodie, how fun it is to share. Look, it's great. It's so simple. Look at all this colorful, beautiful food. If you eat plant-based or whatever you want to call it, 1, 2, 3, 4 days a week, whatever you can get to, because it's like progress, not perfection. This is huge. This is not a diet fad. This is not a trend. It's like it's a stance of I'm not okay with supporting this, because the cruelty that I saw hands-on, undercover investigation, animal rescue, if everybody saw it, you would drop your fork immediately. Absolutely. It's brutal, and violence out of sight is not any less violent.
So you trigger so many thoughts in my head about this. So I wrote a book early on, second book that I wrote. I wrote 8 chapters of it and never published it. It was called Understanding Fate. And Understanding Fate was a very, very, very highly mathematical approach to understanding how we end up in certain places. And part of it, I wrote about the reality of what is destroying our world. And the mathematics would blow you away, right? The mathematics of it's not the big polluters, okay? It's not the big harmers, if you want, that are destroying our world. They have big impact, okay? But there are fewer of them. It's the passiveness of all of us combined, okay, that we let certain things happen and just, turn an eye to it. We just don't look at it, knowing damn well that animals are being cruelly, treated, that this is an industry where they are literally an SKU, a product, treated with horrendous violence, where we, day after day after day pollute our planet and add a tiny bit. Each and every one of us is like, it's not me. I'm not going to fix it, right? Look at me. My impact is this much. But there are billions of us
Exactly
with this kind of impact,
Yeah.
and the numbers multiply in a way
it's huge.
It is huge.
It's huge, and
Yeah.
that's one of the most common kind of feelings and responses is like, but what's it really going to do if I go vegan, or if I go half vegan, or whatever? It's huge, because if everybody did that, or half of the population,
Yeah.
or half, quarter, it's insane. But I think, and I know you wrote about this before as well, and it's this whole thing of like hyper normalization.
Exactly.
It's so big that we just can't even comprehend it, and it's all out of sight. And then we have all this very clever marketing, and this very mendacious marketing, actually, which is very frustrating, because otherwise kind people, which is most people, are trying, like, you see it, because I'm looking at labels and food with a very different lens to most people who are walking through a grocery store. And you're like, oh my God, it's just lies and lies and lies. So you
100%.
take ethics out of it. I know not everybody cares as much about pigs or little frogs or whatever it is as me. But we're being lied to as consumers. And that's frustrating as a person who works very hard. It's like, so I've loads of friends who go and they're like, I buy only grass-fed, free range, whatever it is, cruelty-free, humanely slaughtered, the world's greatest oxymoron. Like, humane and slaughtered just shouldn't coexist in a sentence.
Yeah.
So, but that's because, the marketing side of it has to speak to people. If you actually put on the package of whatever it is, cheese or meat, what happened to get it from A to B, not only has it an insane negative effect from, the carbon impact of it, the waste of water, the way to land, antibiotic resistance, ocean acidification, deforestation, you name it, just because we want a burger. So they have to put all this flashy marketing. But that's also like, I don't think that it's necessarily, oh, it's so nefarious, it's some evil empire. It exists because we pay for it to exist as consumers, right? If we shifted our consuming habits, then they will shift because they just want to make money. So the optimistic side of this in the work and the people that I work with on these types of projects, we already have the answers and solutions. I mean, it's incredible. We have like precision fermentation. We can have milk now that's not from cows. We can have meat that is meat. Cellular agriculture is here. But we're so attached just psychologically to how things always are and how like the food system has always been, that it's hard for people to shift to this new, because it's seen as a technology which can kind of freak people out. But now we've gotten, because we don't have time to fight about like everybody go vegan, everybody do this. It's like you need the critical mass to shift. Is it like 25% of the population has to shift in order for something to become the norm? So we have all the solutions with all these brilliant minds and technologies here in front of us.
Yeah.
But we have to, sort of wake up and understand we're being lied to every day on labels, and just ask for for better. Like it's not fair, because again, like I always say, take ethics out of it. I'm exhausted debating why we shouldn't be cruel to animals. It should go without saying. Just because something is smaller or weaker does not mean we should reign dominion over it. This is ridiculous. And until we treat our most vulnerable better, and that people and animals, like I just don't think we're going to get anywhere, because
You know, it goes both ways. So one staggering statistic is that now of all of the animal mass in the world, is it 78% is cows and sheep, right? So not only are we, you know, enslaving that mass amount of basic food for us, basically, we're also killing the other ones.
totally.
Right? It's like, you know, humanity is so arrogant, but so dumb.
I know.
Like, what
At the
are we
same time,
doing?
we're so brilliant, but so stupid. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's so true, because all our arable land is being taken up for mostly like fast food, factory, like, you know, again, back to this whole consumerism thing. Unless you literally have a farmer, you know, or you're raising and killing your own meat. And that's, you know, I have friends who are hunters, and I have much more respect, because I'm like, I don't want to see it. I still don't want to kill animals, but they agree it's not okay to support this mass animal agriculture. And it's like 99 point something % of meat comes from that. There is no way around it, because we're literally knocking down rainforests to either grow soy to feed cattle. Cattle can't eat soy. Like, they're ruminant animals, they can only digest grass.
Yeah.
So we're not only clearing land to grow crops to feed animals who are then sick their entire lives, because by nature they're not designed to digest it. So we're now ingesting sick animals. So it's like you're not doing the best for the planet, obviously, your body. And if you saw what was happening, and the maths, as you would be phenomenal at, the math is insane and so sad.
It is really.
Like, we are now feeding, because of byproduct runoff off, say, the fishing industry, and this is so screwed up. Like, cattle are fast becoming one of the biggest consumers of seafood. And
What?
I know, because the industries are constantly finding ways to cheaply feed and mass produce animals, because the demand, it's interesting, like veganism is growing and plant-based, this, that, and this, but it's also like meat consumption is growing as the human population grows. And that's terrifying, because now we're starting to see vertical factory farms, and that's like terrifying. And I always say, okay, back, another reason, take the ethics out of it. We're going to see the end of antibiotics. Like, antibiotic resistance is like just that far away, because we're pumping all of the antibiotics into the animals we eat. So suddenly, you know, we fall and graze our knee and get a basic infection, and antibiotics don't work. If you really want to scare yourself, look into the end of antibiotics, because you can't expect any life animals in these situations to be healthy, because it's so unnatural. So we pump them full of steroids, hormones, antibiotics, in order to keep them from being too sick until you kill them. And that's just screwing with antibiotics and like modern medicine development. So there's endless reasons. It's like we're killing the rainforest to grow and it's really funny, because vegans always get this, like, yeah, but you eat all the soy. It's like this %, all the soy is going into the cows. So if you really care about rainforests, you shouldn't be eating, you know, this beef from. And living in the US, it's so interesting, because, you know, the bacon thing is a big thing. Like most of the bacon is not coming from where you think it's coming from. And it's not some cute like farm story. It's coming from some horrible, horrible situation. And it's or coming in from China, and the food is coming in from Brazil or whatever. It's probably the most un-American thing you can do, is supporting these industries, because they're owned by overseas conglomerates. So there's so many reasons. And obviously I could talk about this for days, but the base is coming back to, like, and a lot of the work that I try to do is just individually, although it's hard to change individually, it really does have a profound effect if you just make a little bit of effort. Like, if you consciously consume different for a few days a week, it's pretty staggering, because that sends a market signal that there's more demand for this and less demand for that. And then the system changes with the consumer, because at the end of the day, they just want to make money. Yeah. And why wouldn't we want to live in a cruelty-free world? It just baffles me, because, you know, Paul McCartney said it well: if slaughterhouses have glass walls, everyone will be a vegetarian.
I'm with you in terms of how far humanity has gone, and that we will pay back for all of this, for sure. I don't want to make anyone feel bad. So I do eat chicken occasionally, maybe 2 times a week and so, or so. And most of my food, I don't call myself a vegetarian or a vegan. I call myself a Mo-tarian. I eat what's good for Mo, but most considerate about what it is that I eat. Right now, the idea of you showing up, because I think feminists are destroying the feminist movement because of how overboard they go. Vegans are destroying the veganism movement because of how overboard they go. But you, as you hinted in the middle of the conversation, you have friends who are hunters. You speak to hunters. You basically are saying, look, it's not a black or white. If you're not with me, you're against me. It is a spectrum of we can have improvements on the way, right? There is that blame that goes to vegans that sort of, are you trying to make me feel guilty? Are you trying to shame me? This is not what you're trying to do.
No, I believe wholeheartedly, and it's we have so much more in common than we don't. But just human nature being what it is, we focus on the one thing we don't have in common, and we forget. So if you take like whatever it is, a hunter and a vegan, and what are they going to focus on? You kill animals and you love animals. Oh, you listen to Zeppelin. Oh, your kid goes to school here. Oh, I like plants. Like there's probably 1,000 things you agree on and one thing. So I love people. I love travel. I love meeting different cultures. I love learning why. I love learning why not. I love all of that. So I think that it's just so much more powerful in whatever it is. And this could, apply to politics. It can apply to anything. If we stop focusing on that one thing we're hell bent on, because most people want to live more consciously, for lack of a less hippier term. And there does nobody any good to bombard anyone with your opinion, because as they say, opinions are like apples. Everybody has one. But it's like, I see it in the vegan movement. It's so funny. Like, I didn't know I was a vegan until I met a vegan when I was, I don't know, I think I was 17. And I met a guy in Dublin who was like the depiction of Jesus Christ, the long hair, like just essentially almost like levitated towards me. I was like,
oh.
And he started telling me about the in depth about the dairy industry. And then so for me, I didn't want meat. And then myself and my mom have like a same thing with this, dairy tastes sour. So I naturally didn't eat dairy. So it was just kind of an accidental vegan. So I get this label in my teens and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm a vegan. And immediately, I'm looking for, and I was a full on activist. So frontline, like anti-fur campaigns. I'm barred from the fur shops in Dublin. I'm like, out on the front line against all the, you name it. But I got that out of my system younger, thankfully. So I completely understand and empathize with the aggressive activism, because I know what it feels like and the pain of like, why won't anybody listen when this is happening? Why is nobody looking that this is how, fur coat is made, or this is where your pork comes from? So I understand the frustration, but it never really works in the delivery of opening people's hearts or minds. So you're better off focusing on common ground and solutions, which now, again, like I just can't believe here we are in 20. If you had told me when I was a teenager that we'd even have decent veggie burgers, let alone be able to literally grow meat in a safe way. Oat milk. Who knew you could get up and
like, oh my God.
People were like, how do you milk up?
You
but every morning on the tour bus, guys. Every morning.
Oat milk, and honestly, I mean, like, I never understood how I drank milk after I had oat milk. It's so much nicer.
When we look at, like, I always say milk is a funny one, because I grew up, as most of us did, where in school you're like, they're trying to force feed you the warm cartons of milk, because that's where you get your calcium from. And you're like, oh, I don't want to drink this, it's gross. But like, we are literally, we're the only mammals that continue drinking milk after we're supposed to be weaned. So, because it's a huge industry. And what people don't, because if you just look back a step at a time into like why these things exist, like a lot of times as an activist over the years, people are like, but why dairy? Like, how is that cruel? Because did you know, in order to have milk, they take the baby calf away. And I know some farms will always debate me on, well, we don't do for a certain time, but just like take the ins and outs out. You have to have a female cow lactating in order to have milk that we can consume, which means like continuously impregnating a cow who gives birth, and then you take the baby away so that the humans can have the milk. I mean, when you just break it down and look at it, it's pretty weird. And then not only that, another industry pops up off the side of that, which is veal, which people are like, oh, how's that related? It's veal because the baby calf is a byproduct. And then they're like, oh, if we put them in enclosures and don't let them move, their muscles stay soft, and don't let them have their mother's milk. And then it's some like luxury meat, veal. We're like, just to step back and look what it is. And I know people have a hard time hearing a lot of this, like foie gras. Are you kidding me? Like, it's just insanity what we do as people, but it gets a fancy name. Why is it called veal? Why is it not called like completely neglected baby calf meat? Why is foie gras got some fancy French name? Like, at least label it what it is, you know? But again, it's so I also like to use humor because I like taking the piss out of myself. I'm an Irish person. I have no problem with like being what we'd say like slagged. And, you know, as you know, I have this show coming out now, Highway to Health, and myself and Derek, we really want to play into that because we've been doing this our whole lives. Every joke, every prod that's been ever made, we've heard.
Yeah.
And we want to kind of question the status quo. We want to push and have fun with it. And we don't want our guests to all be vegans and think the same. That's boring. We want to look at why people can, if they are vegan or not, like how they got there. We also want to talk to people who are behind these incredible innovations. Like, it's the future's right there. I can see it. Like, it's there. Why aren't we all looking at this? So using our platforms, which music gave both Derek and I. Derek is a singer of Sepultura.
Yeah.
So Brazilian heavy metal band for any
Yeah,
like really heavy.
Yeah.
When you hear him sing and then you hear him talk, you're gonna be like, is that the same person? So Derek's also like a lifelong activist, basically, and he's a big old dude, so it's great.
Yeah.
So we're really having fun because our personalities both work in that sense that we can have those middle ground conversations. We're not going in as like spearheaded, like this is the answer. I have all the answers. I'm right and you're wrong. That's ridiculous. I don't have. We all have blood in our hands. It's impossible to live in like if we have phones, we have blood in our hands. You know, it's so impossible to live a fully cruelty-free life. But why, if we have the skills and the knowledge, do we not live in the least cruel way that we can by just reading labels and looking a little further into what you're buying? Because if you buy it, it is holding up an industry, as are subsidies, which is a whole other spiel we could go off on. But people ask for change, or when you become the change, and it's a little frustrating because we live in this kind of what's the word? It's almost like it's activism, but it's like a performative activism on social media where everyone's like, be the change you want to see in the world, but then continues to do exactly like.
It's hard, Tanya. Like, you know, if you like cookies.
I like cookies. I just eat vegan cookies.
You know, if you like certain cookies, I'm saying this not as a joke. Like, you know, I can tell you, I would probably have a 6-pack if I didn't like my cookie with my coffee in the morning. And, you know, I know that my belly is cruelty to others. Like, you know, people shouldn't see that.
I don't think cookies are causing that much harm.
I'm not, but it's, and I think the point I'm trying to make is that people find it hard to change. And, you know, one of my, you know, unforgettable experiences is I watched Seaspiracy. I'm like, and I watched that, and I watched what was the other one that was talking about the fish and the birds in, you know, ingesting plastic, and you know there are so many good documentaries that are basically talking about how we are affecting the world. And I think the message to me was very straightforward. It wasn't, look, I'm going to change the world. I don't think I will. Even in my own mission, 1 billion happy, at best, I'm going to affect the lives of a few millions or tens of millions of people. I'm not going to change the world, right? And the trick is, do I want to be the one doing that to that, you know, poor fish? Do I want to be that one? Yeah. And if you suddenly, you know, one of my turning points in my life was when I was grumpy as a young, aggressive business executive, and I hurt my daughter basically with my grumpiness. That was the moment where I decided, you know what, I really need to invest more in my happiness. It's not, you know, it's not that difficult when you make the choice, but you had to have an incentive, right? Now, in a very interesting way, I think I don't want to be the one that is causing animals to be treated that way. Okay. And it's a choice that I make, at least because I'm human and I have, protein needs, and I have, I'm traveling sometimes, I don't have access to all the food, whatever, right? I can give myself a million excuses, but at least consciously every time. One of the things I do is every time I would order chicken, I would eat every single part of that poor thing. At least, I honored that, she gave her life for me, right? Now, the thing is, it's that incremental tiny bit of move that I think makes all the difference. And if people have that incentive that I am the one causing that harm, yeah, an arm's length, but I am the one that's causing that harm by buying that thing, maybe people will start to find enough incentive to change.
Well, that's making just that more direct connection, because that's what's happening. And outside of just animal agriculture, like, you're just paying someone else to do the work that you would never do.
Yeah.
And you're right, like, that's what we do as humans. We make excuses, and it's too hard to change. It's too hard. But at the same time, like, we have it in us to run marathons and climb Everest, but we can't not eat a piece of meat. Like, I think we can make that decision, but it's so ingrained in us culturally, and food is part of our identity. But that's also like such a great, powerful tool of nowadays. We have these amazing documentaries, What the Health, Seaspiracy, The Game Changers, you name it. Like, it starts to get in your head more and more, and the information is there. And then what you do with it, obviously, is your choice. It's unfortunately not the animal's choice. It's also the people working in these situations. Like, it's so complex. It's unbelievable, because you can really dive into the fact that this is a human rights issue as well. Because as someone who worked very, very hands-on in these spaces, we've, interviewed workers in factory farms and in slaughterhouses, and the amount of human rights violations that's happening is shocking. So again, as a consumer, whether or not you really care about animals, that's not always the case. It's so bad for the planet. It's so bad for the people working there. It's obviously not doing us any good health-wise. I've been alive my whole life without meat. The protein thing is an industry. Protein is a strain of amino acids that your body doesn't care if it comes from nuts, seeds, soy, vegetables, starch, or meat. It just recognizes it when it comes into your body, and it needs it. I'm not here to debate nutrition because it's not my expertise, but I am a lifelong non-animal eater, alive and well.
Running on stage.
Don't supplement. I don't take anything. And I've kept check of my bloods and everything over the years. And as like a kind of walking advocate for you can be alive and well, because people get very concerned. They're like, where do you get your protein? It's like, I'd be retired if I had $1 for every time someone asked me that question. But where do you get your protein? Like, we literally, the world is suffering what doctors call like a massive, the fiber gap. People don't get enough fiber. We're not talking about that, because protein.
Oh, Kaylee, this is too funny. Michaela, Jupiter's mate, Dell, is been just I just checked in on nine ethers, and he's been on there half an hour. He's the 9 ethers, like the sort of like nemesis, sort of Wells, like the sort of the blacktivist that she, the Michaela makes out is the devil, and that it's but it's just
I've got something to share with you, and just to give you an idea of what some of the stuff that I have been in terms of the states themselves.
But anyway, and then 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 6 minutes ago.
Go on, do your thing, Del. I'm just going to put on mute.
Okay.
We've been waiting for 47 years for this.
Right, so pause there, yeah? So, okay, so you're definitely pro-regime change, no problem.
Funny. I bet Michaela's watching, and but she's like, Banksy and Del, no.
was marketed as this very, very important thing, and it must come from animals, and animals get their protein from plants. All protein comes from plants originally. So it's so interesting that, again, modern industrial farming and animal agriculture just became so big so fast that it got out of hand. And now we're at a tipping point with the planet where if we don't change or start to look at not just animals, like even how we crop the land, like monocropping is destroying our lands. And there's all these beautiful technologies happening and all these amazing foundations and groups doing work that's like, here we can literally have utopia and not have food insecurity, which is the other bizarre thing. Like, we waste so much food in the process of keeping these antiquated systems alive. It's really frustrating, because when you look at how much it takes to, grow a cow to its slaughter age to get X amount of meat, like all the water, all the grain, all that, and then you're destroying the land. There's people hungry in the places we're growing the crops. Instead of giving crops directly to the people, we're shipping them so we can have cheap meat the far side of the world. It's just so out of whack. Nobody in 2023 should have food insecurity. That really, really grinds my gears. Nobody should be hungry, because we are throwing, I can't remember the last time I checked the stats. It was up on the 40% of food. Like, it's very high, like, of how much we waste. It's shocking. We shouldn't waste 1%, let alone be in the 30 or 40 percentile of food wasted, because we've just become so used to having everything like that. We live in an Amazon Prime world. Like, no offense, Bezos, but everyone got too used to that. It's like, I remember when I first moved to the US, and the difference of, like, I grew up in a small town in Ireland, and I remember you would go to the little grocery store when I was a kid, and on a Monday they would have the shelves full. And then by Friday, they'd be kind of empty. And then on Monday, it'd be restocked again. And something that really stuck out when I first started living in LA was you go to like a Whole Foods or whatever, and it's just constantly perfect. Yeah. It's like a movie set for vegetables. Yeah. Like, how is this possible? We're just in this, we just want all the time. Just like, it has to be perfect and on demand. Whereas, in an ideal world, obviously, we would try to grow more of our own food, try to be a little bit more self-sustainable. But even just a step up in consciousness as consumers is so powerful.
I have to bring us back to that idea of, it's not only possible. I think most people don't realize how enjoyable it
Absolutely
is. You as an advocate, rock star, like, you're a rock star, but half of your Instagram is basically it's basically food,
food.
Right? But my personal experience. So this is the month of Ramadan in Dubai, and in Ramadan I tend to keep a very minimalist diet. I attempt very hard. So the spiritual significance of Ramadan is that you get to feel the need of others, right? So you get to feel that others actually don't have food every day. They don't have water every day. And believe it or not, it's quite an experience, because the idea of 30 days of fasting, the first few days, it's like a little bit of intermittent fasting. It's good for you. You feel healthy. Everything's wonderful. And especially because we fast and don't drink water as well. By day 20, your body goes like, holy shit. Do people live like, there are so many people in the world that are so poor, right? That are below the poverty line. They have one meal a day, not by choice of fasting, right? And suddenly your body goes like, hello. Like, suddenly empathy surges through you. Like, I am not relating to another person feeling what they're feeling. I'm feeling it. I know what that is. So I try to really mimic that experience. Every year I've done it for, since I was 8. And part of that is I have a very standard diet. So I eat almost exactly the same soup every day for iftar, for breakfast, as we call it. And it is a vegan, style, Asian flavored soup. I eat it exactly the same way every day. And what will shock you is this. I go out twice a week and I buy a carrot, a broccoli, cauliflower, like not a broccoli, like a bit of broccoli, a bit of cauliflower, a box of mushrooms, and tiny things that cost nothing. And they last me 3 to 4 days. Fresh, enriching, wonderful. Like really, I feel nourished. I feel amazing. I feel light. And it's an enjoyable experience. It's not like I'm forcing myself to eat something that is horrible, because the reputation of, you know, vegan food is like it's cardboard flavored with a little bit of Himalayan salt, right? That's not the truth at all. You know, after that, I have my wonderful oat latte. I make myself with oat milk, and I'm like, how did I ever drink milk? I mean, honestly, after a week of getting used to oat milk, you go like, what was that taste in milk? So weird,
Very
right?
palatating.
And I'm not again, I'm not like you, I'm not an advocate for anyone to change their diet aggressively, but I'm asking people to also explore. If there is an alternative that's better for the planet, that has less cruelty, why don't you give it a try, right?
And food is humanity's greatest uniter or divider in certain debates. But it's so true. Like, it's another real misconception of like vegetarian, veganism, plant-based, whatever you want to call it. Oh, that's like, someone said to me recently that is a privileged diet. I was like, well, for starters,
Hold on.
veganism is a social movement.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle. Veganism to me is like everything, reading your labels. I don't want to use products that were tested on animals. I choose not to wear leather, blah, blah, blah. But plant-based whole foods is a diet, and it is not expensive. I am an independent musician who's been touring her whole life. There's like, I'm an artist. I'm not a multimillionaire. I've been living on tour buses and on low income since I started. It's not expensive to eat whole foods and plant-based. It's just
It's
not.
probably cheaper. Right?
Obviously, to some people in the world, anything is expensive. But as far as like the Western working world is concerned, it's not expensive to go and buy a head of broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, make a soup, you know, lentils, one of the most, beans, chickpeas, all these, the most incredibly nourishing foods that go way back to ancient times of being so, are cheap and accessible everywhere. And if I can do it as literally an eternal nomad, anybody can do it half the time even, you know what I mean? And I think that because we have, and it's great that we have all these cool foods that come in, like we vegan burgers and we vegan cheese and we vegan, and that's fun and it's a novelty, and I say great, transition food. That's not what anyone in the plant-based health world is advocating. It's simple. It's your healthy whole foods and whole grains, which is accessible and affordable to most people. And it's that getting to like getting it out of your head that it's expensive or it's I hate the word diet. I mean, it literally has the word die in it, which is not like, it's ridiculous. Like, you know, from following any of my stories, like food everywhere, color, like eat the rainbow, it's right there. The food tells you this is good for me. It's like, if it's this, and I don't mean like, you know, injected colors and dyes, but if you have a plate full of different colors, you know that's your multi-nutrient right there. You don't need to be taking all these supplements and all this. It's pretty straightforward. But we like to overcomplicate things as people. Like, and I think we like to label ourselves, and you know, we like to be in these like, I'm a this and I'm a that. And I mean, we're just all humans, and we're at least like we can't necessarily change the world. But back to your point on Seaspiracy, you can change the world for that one fish or that whale. You can change the world for the animal. And by sending that message, it might seem so big that it's impossible, but it's happening. And that's I try so hard to stay optimistic in a world where you're seeing like ridiculous behavior that we do to animals, and why we do it. And we come up with 1,000 excuses why this is all how we always did it, whatever.
Just got to 1:04:44 of the time. You can see. Oh yeah, put that there. You can see the time 1:04:44, and it's 1:22:29 long. So I'm going to end it now, and we will finish the last 17.7 minutes when we next go on. And the Jupiter has just started on this Saturn day, and they both need a lot of realigning and work and basically destroying. we are going to well, no, let's not talk about destroying artificial fucking fake personas. You know, it's already destroyed. Is what it is. We are going to bring justice to this character, this human being, which has done this. So yeah, I'm going to go off and record Michaela. I was going to have a shower and go to the shop, but I'm going to put her on and then have a shower. She's just going nothing. I don't think I'm gonna have to follow every word. She's just going, Benedict, you do your party, and then I watched a load of Baraka actually yesterday. He managed to trick this one person who'd left Advance, this Richard, not Richard Inman. There was two other Richards on with the show with another Richard. And then it was like, oh, cheeky. This Richard that's gone over to restore. He's like, you cheeky Baraka. Like, you didn't tell me who I was going to be on with, and then so he was on with the head of the current Advance still. And well done, Kaylee. And so so then it was just interesting. So you know what, Restore fucking finished themselves off. Yeah, so basically Ben Habib said he slipped it out in some interview somewhere that they've gone full tilt racism, because he was getting, like, you know, they were talking about this. You could scroll down the comments under a Ben Habib post, and he was just getting called Packy this, Packy that, and everything else, and just, you know, all the terrible abuse. And then the next day, Restore on the channel, as if it was a rude pill, whether it was him or not, he wrote, let's all go full tilt. So he used the term that Beneby wrote, said, full tilt racism. And then he said, let's go full tilt Restore. What a mug. Actually just fully doubled down on supporting. Like, he could have, you know, even this Richard that's now with Restore was saying, yeah, no, that was in bad taste. I wouldn't, you know, you shouldn't, whoever's got control. He was saying that it's probably not Rupert, somebody else has got control of the social media, and they've just gone and, as a dig, you know, a dig at Beneby, he's gone and used that same term, full tilt. But it's all just so stupid. But anyway, my darling, love you so much, and we'll speak to you soon. I'll go and see your email as well. Thank you so much for everything. Darren Williams, blessings to you. Imagine your little banana pathetic prick self in the middle of this heart. Bless you. Oh, it's just so tragic. So tragic. Thank you. Speak to you soon.